So real quick before we jump into Dolby Vision, first and foremost, this is not a Dolby Vision bash at all, actually. It's more of a retrospective. Why do we have Dolby Vision in the first place? Because we need to understand that Dolby Vision just didn't come out of thin air. Oh, suddenly we have Dolby Vision. It was designed to solve a solution. And today's video is really to revisit whether that solution is relevant today and the context of when it was originally developed. I want you guys to understand, why Dolby Vision? HDR10, HDR10 Plus, and for those thinking, FOMO is just on the agenda, trying to push Samsung and HDR10 Plus. As a matter of fact,
you're a Samsung shill now?
Samsung would be happy that Dolby Vision continued. And I'll explain to you guys in a minute why that would be the case. But hey, John Reformato is here. But
What's up, John? Well, so quick,
ultimately,
FOMO, before you start,
uh-huh.
let's just get a quick, we let people come in. For a lot of you guys, is Dolby Vision a do or die thing? Is that something that you guys have to make your decision? We've done many videos on qled, Samsung, and without a doubt, FOMO, there's plenty of people saying, well, if they had Dolby Vision, it'd be unstoppable. So as we go through this video, how important is it to you guys while we're talking?
You're right. That's actually, let's start with that discussion because I think,
Yeah.
A lot of people are still
For you,
running to their TV, running to their phone, pulling off the
yeah.
road and asking the question. So let me put that question up right now. Is Dolby Vision important to you? Because I remember this 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I kept on hearing,
baby.
if there's no Dolby Vision, I'm not buying it.
No
Samsung,
bueno.
you are wrong not to have Dolby Vision. And honestly, I was on that exact same boat. I'm like, Samsung, how expensive is it to just buy the darn license? What is it? An extra $50 per TV? Pass it down to the consumer. Who cares, right? So yeah, and I'm
Well,
looking
and then the
Josh,
S95B,
Dolby Vision sucks,
yes,
right? Or
but the S95B, I'll never forget when we did that unboxing. That melted away overnight, and we kind of saw with the quantum dots that okay, wow, there it is. And we both were like, well, it doesn't matter that much to me. We've seen poor implementation over the years, but I know for me, when Dolby Vision was first kind of there, it was one of those check the boxes things where you thought you were paying more for less if it didn't have it, phone.
yes,
HDR10 Plus didn't get the same kind of love, but Dolby Vision was definitely. I just did a micro LED short. I can't tell you, people said I would buy that if it wasn't. Not that it's not 150 grand, but
right.
they would buy it if it had Dolby Vision. So we're very curious before we continue this. Not is it important to you, but will it really keep you from buying a TV you're really liking at? That's what I'm really curious about. We have all the reviews, the things that we love. Would you, at the end of the year, FOMO, say, I can't do it because it's missing this feature? For you, FOMO, personally, where would you be with that?
Whether Dolby Vision is important to my TV buying selection?
Yeah. Put your buyer's hat on for 1 second. Let me know. Would you buy
So last year was the first time I chose a TV as an editor's choice that did not have Dolby Vision, which would be the Samsung S90C. Now the Q90R that I had back in 2019, I liked a lot, but my reference TV that year was the Sony A9G, which had Dolby Vision. It was terrible. It was player LED. It was too dark. It was broken, and Sony never fixed it. And this kind of gets, and at the time I was very confused. I'm like, wait, why is Dolby Vision not great on this flagship king of TVs of 2019? But I let it go. Okay, you know what? Maybe it's just a Sony thing, right? But the various TVs that I selected after that were Hisense, had Dolby Vision, and there was a TCL that had Dolby Vision, and
Vizio?
ultimately S90C didn't have Dolby Vision. But then after the shootout and us, comparing TVs as well as talking to the other reviewers, Classy, KG, we felt that the Dolby Vision image quality isn't better. It's different. And I will give everyone who says, oh, I see a difference. I'm not saying it's not different. The subjective better is, I think, the argument here. And whether it's even creator's intent. And that's going to be, we're going to have that discussion today as well, whether it really is creator's intent or not. But more importantly, is Dolby Vision important to me today as we speak? Right now, I'm not convinced it's a thing to consider like, well, Dolby Vision Gaming. I treat it just like Dolby Vision Gaming, which is, I mean, don't buy your console because of Dolby Vision Gaming. Don't buy your TV because it's capable of Dolby Vision Gaming. Because I have yet to be convinced that it's better than non-Dolby Vision gaming. You see what I'm saying?
But
Is
FOMO, if you stay there for a second and you think about that Xbox control panel, when you go to 4K features and you see those green checks, it will make any enthusiast crazy to see that a couple of them are X'd off with red.
right.
That FOMO of, and I think with your Q90R, you had to be saying to yourself, God, if I had Dolby Vision, this thing would be amazing. And I know a lot of us were feeling that way about a lot of features, but that one thing of saying, hey, I just paid for a flagship 900D and it's missing this feature, it bothers people. And I know it bothered me for the longest time.
Yeah. And, and that's the other issue is suddenly Dolby Vision, I don't want to say suddenly, the minute it was
Brett?
released, the minute it was, hey Brad, the minute it was released,
A couple
Dolby
beers.
Vision was a feature that you have to have on your TV to be considered a premium
High end.
advanced TV, right? To be considered a high-end TV, it had to have Dolby Vision. And so when Samsung didn't have it, not having that checkbox really bothered a lot of people, even if these people don't necessarily watch Dolby Vision, like they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Ultimately, it ended up being that Dolby Vision, it pained them that it didn't have the checkbox. And so they'd say, was it that if Samsung had Dolby Vision, boom, I'd buy it right away.
Oh, done, I'm done. I'm ready to. Yeah, because I think people looked at it also, and I know I was guilty of saying this, that Samsung didn't need it. And being the number one brand in the world, they're probably like, I'm not paying for that. So they
Right.
looked at it, I think, as an arrogance FOMO, but they were also at launch always the most expensive, at least for the first 6 months. What's up, David?
Agreed.
What's up, everybody in the chat? Just want to say hello to you guys. We are weeks away from TVs actually hitting that we'll be seeing
Only
and being
weeks
able to show you
away.
guys.
Right,
Weeks
right.
away. So I appreciate you guys joining us for these discussions because once those TVs are out, we'll be full throttle. So I love that you
Yep.
guys are here for these talks and for my tech therapy videos. It means a lot to us. Just want to say that quickly. But these conversations will sprinkle throughout the year, FOMO. But when you go to make that buy, it's a question that a lot of people have. Even though they'll say it in the comments, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. When they go to spend that money on that flagship, they're like, ah,
Bowman, right? To his
what color
point,
do I use?
it's that checkbox. How can I be
I don't know,
paying,
man.
2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and not have that checkbox? And I think we're in full roll now. I think everyone's here. But before we jump into it, I'm going to have a dedicated video on the Samsung potential fiasco. Maybe it's not a fiasco, but you guys, if you haven't voted in my poll, go to my channel's community page. I put up a poll that if Samsung ends up mixing WOLED
Yes.
from LG Display, not MLA, right? Just a regular WOLED with QD-OLED on the S90D. Now, I've reached out to Samsung. They're waiting for confirmation. They're waiting to make a statement. And hopefully the statement is something that we want to hear, which is QD-OLED only on 55, 65, 77-inch S90D rather than the very ambiguous quote unquote, we put the best OLED technology on any given TV. Feel assured that the OLED panel will meet the specs we promise, which means no comment. And that could imply that it's probably going to be a panel lottery that people will be playing like crazy on our channel, but we don't know yet. So again, this was out of an article in Korea that suggested, or actually outright said, that LG Display, for it to sell these panels at a competitive price to Samsung, Samsung
Yeah.
cannot place it at a lower model lineup, like the S85D we talked about. They cannot
Yeah, because you'd
separate
be
WOLED on a separate model and make it cheaper, thereby basically saying, hey, WOLED sucks, QD-OLED is better. I mean, that clearly separates it, right? They don't want Samsung doing it. They go, look, if we're going to sell you WOLED, you cannot do that. In other words, mix and
yeah.
match to your heart's content. We'll give you a sweetheart deal, but do not put it on its own model that ends up being a lower number, obviously, right? So that
Yeah.
being the case, we're going to have to wait and see if this is a region-specific thing. Some people are suggesting maybe they'll do it in parts of the world where they don't care. Oh, it's OLED. I'm happy. I don't care. And maybe the enthusiast continents like the USA, maybe Europe, they might not. We'll see. Because as we've seen before, Samsung mixes panel technologies in regions outside the US, like they'll have ADS Pro outside the US for the exact same model number, where in the US it's a VA panel, but we've never seen them mix it within the same region where it's WOLED. And like I've never seen ADS Pro mixed with VA in the same size on the same model SKU, right? It's always something
No.
different. So,
Well, last year it was a
we'll
problem with
see
the
how that
90C
goes.
for me. Last year that was an issue with the 90C. I actually didn't
Mm-hmm.
review the 90C because I didn't know which panel I was in again. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to spend all this time reviewing a 55 to hear, oh, by the way, the 65 is different and everything else. Why is my TV on? Hold on a
Yep.
second, turn my TV.
And
Okay.
Getty, you are setting me up for the history of why Dolby Vision. So thank you for the super chat from Getty. I don't see the purpose of having a Dolby Vision on an LCD TV. So that gets us to, wait, why have Dolby Vision on any TV? LCD, OLED, why have it at all, right? So we're going to have to put out some assumptions that you guys may not remember why we had Dolby Vision in the first place. Like what's wrong with HDR10? So in the early days, we're talking 2015, the first time HDR TV, any HDR TV was sold to the public as a consumer display, a TV, it was back in 2015. And back then, the TVs could not properly tone map HDR10. So HDR10 is static metadata, meaning they don't give you scene by scene information where this scene is, specular highlights is 1,000 nits, and then, black levels are this and that. Instead, they gave you an overall data for the entire movie package. So the TVs back then, when they received the information, they looked at the image, they were unable to properly tone map. So that meant that you had a lot of clipping. What was bright became bright white rather than the subtle colors because the colors were too bright for the TV to handle. They were unable to bring that brightness down to the brightest level of the TV. So back in 2015, whether it's OLED or non-OLED, it didn't matter. If you had a 1000 nit content, your TV could not show 1000 nits, it clipped it to white. And so it just did not look good. So Dolby Vision, what it offered is perfect information in every scene that the TV could then properly bring the brightness down. That was why you had Dolby Vision, because the TVs were simply not processing well enough. Their tone mapping processing simply sucked. 2015 it sucked, 2016 it sucked, 2017 it sucked, and so forth, right? And so Dolby Vision was created so that TV and the source can match and tone map perfectly. Now, if your TV is super bright, meaning let's say your source goes up to 1,000 nits and your TV is capable of 2,000 nits, you don't need tone mapping. You don't need Dolby Vision. You don't need HDR10 tone mapping, right? The TV is able to display everything as the creator intended in HDR. So the tone mapping is irrelevant. Dolby Vision helps you tone map. Now, the second assumption beyond the TVs will forever have inferior tone mapping is that all TVs will look better in Dolby Vision versus HDR10. So HDR10 is the free static metadata standard. If your TV is capable of Dolby Vision, and it's getting a Dolby Vision feed, so you can't make everything Dolby Vision, right? The source, whether it's streaming or your movie, if it's Dolby Vision and your TV is capable of Dolby Vision, the assumption is that 1-to-1, that Dolby Vision to Dolby Vision TV is always going to look better than HDR10 to HDR10 TV. So that's the second assumption, is all TVs with Dolby Vision are all going to look great. And then the last assumption is, and this is the most important one, Dolby Vision licensing is cheap. So why not? And essentially it is, right? I've said this before. If you go on Best Buy, the 50-inch TCL 5 series has Dolby Vision. It's $250. I mean, $250 for a TV with Dolby Vision. Clearly, Dolby Vision licensing is not that expensive. So this is why we have Dolby Vision today, why it became so important, I guess, because it makes TVs look better. Because back in 2015, 2016, 2017, TVs just did not do tone mapping well at all. Dolby Vision sought to fix that, and it's not going to be very expensive. These TVs will just have Dolby Vision license. It's going to be a cheap license. Great. Well, today we're going to revisit all of these assumptions one by one, and at the end, ultimately why this doesn't add up for consumers specifically, and why it's bad for the TV makers, right? So we'll start with the first reality, which is today's TV is awesome. The tone mapping capability of all the TVs. I'm not just talking about the Sony A95L with XR Clear. I'm not just talking about LG G3 or G4 or G2. Even the Hisense U7K, which both Brian and I have reviewed, or the Q7, they're able to tone map basic HDR10 as well as Dolby Vision capable TVs. Now, here's the worst insult. Some TVs cannot tone map or process Dolby Vision correctly. So that takes us to reality number 2, which is different or worse, but not better. TVs with Dolby Vision, at best, look a little different, meaning, the colors might be quote unquote more accurate to Dolby Vision because that's what the creator intended, but it's slightly different. It's not night or day. But more often than not, it's worse because Dolby Vision requires yet another set of tuning and calibration at the manufacturer side. Forget the consumer having to do anything, right? The manufacturer is supposed to tune Dolby Vision on their TV, quality control, and they don't. Thus, the Sony A95L doesn't look great in Dolby Vision. As a matter of fact, Sony TVs have a history of looking terrible with Dolby Vision. They're currently fixing it right now. Sony is they're going all out trying to fix Dolby Vision right now on the A95L because it's their flagship and they're still at it. They will have a firmware update to fix it, but they've admitted it doesn't look good. And you've seen my Hisense U8K and the previous generation where Dolby Vision is just too bright. It cannot be accurate on the Hisense, and calibration only does so much, right? And how many of you are going to calibrate Dolby Vision when you're buying an $800, $1,000 TV? None of you. So it doesn't look better. So that's assumption number 2. Now, the best looking Dolby Vision out of the box is LG, but it still requires a little bit of tuning. My Dolby Vision, the black crushing is very noticeable. I need to get that calibrated out. And the last reality is, and this is the part that no one knew, implementation is expensive from the TV maker side. And this last reality is the crux of this video. It is bad for TV makers, and here's why. All the resources that Sony is putting to fixing Dolby Vision, imagine if that money was saved towards putting, let's say, a better feature, or an improved feature, or another HDMI 2.1 chip. This costs money. Right now that Sony's doing this firmware update for you guys, there's engineering resources, every time Dolby Vision offers an update to their firmware, Sony has to keep up with that update itself. That costs money on Sony's end. So they've already sold you the TV last year. They still spend money supporting Dolby Vision when, well, who knows how many of you are even watching in Dolby Vision when you're thinking, you know what, this is not too accurate. I'll just use HDR10. But forget the A95L because these are flagship buyers. They expect to pay the Sony tax. This Sony tax is covered across all their lineup. So the X80K, right, the least expensive of Sony's TVs, it has Dolby Vision. Well, guess what? That's why it's expensive. Sony is trying to support Dolby Vision, although the life of the TV has long passed. It's still got to make sure Dolby Vision works. The A9G, I think maybe 2 to 3 years later, the player-led Dolby Vision was supposed to be slightly better. That's lost money on Sony's end. And then now you know why. Hisense and TCL's Dolby Vision implementation, it is not very good because they slapped the chip on and then they moved on. For them to sit down and start tuning Dolby Vision accurately, suddenly my deal of the century U8K for $900 is now $1,100 because the extra $200 per TV is offsetting the cost of calibrating Dolby Vision as well as HDR10 or whatever, right? And this is not good for the TV makers. I would rather either the TV drops in price without that excess of tuning the Dolby Vision, because as you see, even when Dolby Vision is done right, it's different but not better. So drop the price of the TV without Dolby Vision, or add another feature instead of Dolby Vision. So LG, remember when they removed DTS and we asked LG, wait, why did you guys remove DTS processing from your TVs? LG's response was, well, no one used it. We saw the TVs being sold and no one was watching content that was decoding DTS, so why have it? And this is probably why, if you saw my last video, LG took Dolby Vision support out of their QLED 85, 89, this year, right? 85T, 89T, and lesser TVs, Probably because they don't think people cared, or to drop the price of those TVs. And now for the consumers, so we go to the pricing. When you're buying a less expensive LG C4, you're offsetting the cost of Dolby Vision across that entire lineup with the price of the C4. I would say leave Dolby Vision in the flagship TV. Have the rich people pay for the Dolby Vision in their flagship. Keep it there, but then for the budget conscious models, the B4, the A4, even the C4, you know what? If it could allow the TV to drop in price by a few hundred, and that's not for the licensing, that's for keeping Dolby Vision relevant, updated, tuned. I mean, this all costs money and resources, and thus the conclusion, right? So if you look at here, the impact on the consumers and the impact on TVs. Your TVs are going to have less features because so much money is spent on Dolby Vision support, or it's going to be more expensive, thus affecting you, the consumer. Now, if you guys want Dolby Vision, it's all worth it to you, hey, the TV makers will continue down this road. But I'm getting a feel that Dolby Vision is more resource intensive than it's worth, because these assumptions 1 through 3 I have listed is no longer the case today. TVs are not forever inferior. HDR10 looks phenomenal. TVs do not look better in Dolby Vision than HDR10. At best look different, but more often than not they look worse now because they're not properly tuned at the factory. And lastly, DV licensing is not cheap because after licensing there is ongoing support. Last example, the Panasonic UB820 apparently had a Dolby Vision update. You know what happened? It broke, and so some TVs are unable to watch Dolby Vision above 1,000 nits. It converts to player led, and this is something that I heard in stream. I'm not going to update my UB820 then, because I need to use it for reviews. Because if it screws up my Dolby Vision, I can't review Dolby Vision above a certain number of nits. That's crazy. So Panasonic has to go out and fix it or work with the TV makers that it's not properly working with. This is so unnecessary. And many of you are saying, well, what about Disney Plus and Apple TV, right? They have Dolby Vision. Technically, all they did was add a filter container, call it Dolby Vision. It's not really Dolby Vision from the creator. It is originally HDR10. They run it through a video processor. They click Dolby Vision, and boom, it's in a Dolby Vision container. There is no guarantee it looks any better. It most likely looks worse. If it was not Dolby Vision graded by the creator, it's not truly Dolby Vision. It's just calling it Dolby Vision, just so your TV could have that checkbox working. So, all right, now I got it off my
Well, you,
chest.
I was
Have I
like,
convinced you,
damn.
Brian, or are you like, you know what? I'm still getting a Dolby Vision TV.
I mean, honestly, I don't care for the reasons that are less than that. I agree with the filter. I agree with all that. For me, I have the same issue with HDR10 Plus. When I am checking out the U8K, the U7K, QM8, whatever, I don't like that the menu is bare bones. I don't like that I'm not able to change the settings. I'm stuck with whatever that Dolby Vision preset is. And honestly, a lot of times, even with HDR10 Plus, with the Hisense and the TCL, they do look worse. And you're kind of stuck. So now you're sitting here with all these great features. I've had people say to me, why is all this stuff grayed out on my TV? Why is even HDR tone mapping grayed out? Simply because if you look up, HDR10 Plus is enabled. And now you can't customize the image. You're stuck with, to your point, however they tuned it. So for me, I rather have full control of all my presets, other than say game mode, and run free with that. I have only found Dolby Vision to be more accurate over the years and dimmer. That loss of brightness has always affected me. Even on the 880L, you either have Dolby Vision Dark, which is very dark, or Bright, which is very bright, and then Vivid. So at least on LG, you do still have a standard preset. You still have those other presets. I just don't like the limiting factor that hey, here's what it is. Like you said, take my word for it. When I went to Disney Plus FOMO a few months ago, I'm like, damn, all this is Dolby Vision, all the Toy Stories, everything.
Right.
Wow, I'm like, they really went to town. And also to your point, um, people are watching everything in Dolby Vision because almost everything in Netflix is Dolby Vision. So, like you said, it's that filter. So I have found that I can't disable it unless I go with a different streaming device or whatever. So I rather just be have it at all. And
Yeah.
very rarely, guys, have I looked at something and said, I remember I used to watch I used to read FOMO, Blu-ray.com a lot. A lot of you guys are big fans of that, and they would try to test both movies and say, well, the Matrix and Dolby Vision's a little deeper, the greens are a little bit more. A lot of times it was just hard to tell there was any difference at all. So hard to chase a feature like that. And I think to you, it's resource intensive um, in many ways. I rather just not, and I rather not worry about if it's functioning, to be honest.
Yep. And so we have some great questions here I'm going to love to address. So here's one is, if you caught, I think Amazon Prime and Netflix are doing this, or if they haven't done so, they will. They're paywalling Dolby Vision behind a higher tier. So you have the ad tier, which is, I think it's just 4K HDR. And then you go up a tier, you
Ambushed.
get Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, right? And I don't think they realize, and this is, I think I've mentioned this before, if you don't mind watching the ads, don't pay for Dolby Vision. It's not, you're paying for a checkbox where it's not going to be a better viewing experience. Now, Dolby Atmos, you know, uh, possibly, depending on your system, but definitely on the visual side, Dolby Vision, not a big deal. And of course, this is kind of leading to lower demand. So if people begin to watch less Dolby Vision, maybe, ironically, Dolby Vision is its own demise. If anything, it should demand that Netflix drop Dolby Vision to the free tier, but Netflix would be like, wait a minute, I'm paying you guys a license fee to have it available. This free ad is not supporting Dolby Vision licensing, so we're going to move it up a tier, which starts to reduce further people's exposure to Dolby Vision. And I love this comment and question by JR. FOMO, how do you know the creators on Netflix and Apple TV aren't doing specific Dolby Vision trim passes?
On every piece of content?
So here's the thing.
It's like a million.
There are two ways to do a trim pass, where you run HDR10, you just click trim. Yes, that's what they do. And you're spending time to do Dolby Vision specific. And so what does Dolby Vision specific mean? If HDR10 could do the same work as Dolby Vision, honestly, it makes no difference. It's when you're saying, okay, in this scene, Dolby Vision uniquely offers 10,000 nits, 16 bits. I'm going to take advantage of that specular highlight, like Spears and Munsell, right? Stacey Spears. Okay, this scene, 10,000 nits. I need Dolby Vision to do ABC. But if Netflix and Apple TV, if their original content, 1,000 nits, average picture level 100 nits plus specular highlights up to 1,000 nits, Dolby Vision is unnecessary. I don't care if they trim it in Dolby Vision. It's going to look indistinguishable. The same color code is identical on both TVs. Dolby Vision doesn't have, quote unquote, a better BT 2020. It's the same color, right? Red coordinate on Dolby Vision is exactly the same red coordinate on HDR10, right? It's the exact same red. It's only when you're utilizing something in Dolby Vision that's not available in HDR10 that your TV cannot tone map properly. So we're talking the extremes possibly of tone mapping. So let's say your TV is only capable of 1,000 nits and this Dolby Vision scene is 2,500 nits. Tone mapping that 2,500 on a Dolby Vision TV that's capable of 1,000 should look better because HDR10 it might clip. And so you see where I'm going, JR? It is such an edge case where Dolby Vision then makes itself known. Is that worth it? So that's why I don't think Netflix and Apple TV, if you're watching most shows, you can tell, oh, this is not really HDR. It's those few specular highlight scenes that are beyond the capability of your TV's brightness that Dolby
Yeah.
Vision's dynamic metadata comes into play. And I don't think there's enough of that happening that it makes a difference. And that's the issue for me. But excellent question. I want to know, what is an ambush stream? I love this. This is great. It's like I feel like I'm throwing
We're going
tomatoes
after
at Dolby
Dolby.
Vision and taking off.
You're like it's a Dolby Vision store. It's right over there.
quick,
I mean,
Harriet.
but I think what's so funny is Dolby Vision. Then remember the THX certification we used to have on our receivers. And you're like, oh man, I gotta have that. And then you're like, how often do you use that? You're like, never,
Never.
never used it. But it was good to have the sticker. I think that's a big part of it. So yeah, it's a tough call. But I certainly would not. I'd just go for the best TV and the best image quality. Period. So and Dolby Vision is not part of that equation anymore
Yeah.
for me.
I'm going to jump in. So I think we kind of laid out the case. We're going to take your questions now. I'm going to remove some of these titles here. Take a little noise off of it. But I want a lot of people, because a lot of people just take Dolby Vision for granted, not knowing where they came from, right? It's like, wait, what is this Dolby Vision option? Okay, so if I'm missing your question, go ahead and ask it again. You guys got a lot of great questions, so let's jump
Well,
into it
well,
real
plus,
quick.
real quick, touch on the player-led Dolby Vision being behind
Oh
the
yeah,
stream,
so in the
because that
early
one,
days,
I think everyone looks back and says, "Well, this means nothing if I'm playing my Blu-rays." Forget about the Panasonic being updated. Skip that. That's something they have to figure out. But explain what Stacy had said, and as far as it's being an older version of it.
okay, so there are many versions of Dolby Vision, right? Originally, there was a player-led Dolby Vision where it's the player that has the Dolby Vision chip that does the decoding, and it sends it to the TV, and the TV doesn't do anything but take the Dolby Vision that was processed from the player and then display it. And that was a nightmare because player-led Dolby Vision was just too dark, not properly rendered. None of the TVs that were player-led was any good. And so all the TVs converted to TV LED, which means the decoding chip is on the TV. So another way of calling it player LED is low latency Dolby Vision because the processor is on the player. It's quote unquote low latency, right? So the Xbox had low latency Dolby Vision because, the processing is done on the Xbox side. It gets to the TV. The TV doesn't do anything, so it's low latency. But it turns out that's not the best way to do it. So now you have TV LED, but there are many versions of Dolby Vision. So the Blu-ray disc that you have today with Dolby Vision is one of the earliest versions. That has not changed. The later versions are exclusive to streaming, and you're going to have like Dolby Vision IQ, just the variations of Dolby Vision that are supposed to be newer, higher quality. I don't even know what that means, but at the end of the day, the latest Dolby Vision are exclusive to streaming. So if you're watching disc, it still works, but all the features and all the new trims that they've came up with are on the latest Dolby Vision that's only on streaming, and it only decodes off the stream, but we don't even know if they're using it at all. But like Dolby Vision IQ, right? That interaction is all the latest and greatest, and all it is making it brighter in a brighter room. So TVs had that with non-Dolby Vision content. It really doesn't matter. The Dolby Vision IQ, it's supposed to make Dolby Vision watchable and not too dark. So as you were saying, oh, Dolby Vision is too dark. Well, put on Dolby Vision IQ. It then has the light sensor and it adapts the Dolby Vision to the room. And it again depends on the TV. Some works better than others, but it's like raising the gamma or making it brighter in your room, right? I guess lowering the gamma for your room. So when is Dolby Vision AI coming out? I think they're going to claim that it's already out, but I don't know
You
if that
have
would
it.
make a
Didn't you
big
see it?
difference. Yep. And, and here we go. Atmos is also a gimmick. Yeah, I didn't want to go there today, but if you have a good receiver that upmixes well, it doesn't make a difference, right? It's all in the upmixing anyway. So, you could
Yeah,
take a Bentley.
you're rocking Aura 3D. You're like, all right, the
Yep,
speakers are all
that's
fired
it.
up. Cool.
Oromatic. Yep, that's right.
It sounds terrible. I mean, it doesn't sound terrible. I mean, it sounds terrible to say that, but how many times have you sat there with an Atmos movie going, that rain is not coming from the top of the, it's very disheartening to pay for these features and not have them great.
Oh, this is a great comment. Pink Panther. Is Apple TV device brighter based on content? House of Dragons with Dolby Vision on, off, HDR. Okay, versus off. So, didn't we have this episode? House of Dragon looks best in SDR. First and foremost, in both Dolby
You can
Vision
see and
off,
everything.
turn off HDR. I mean, we did a comparison. You might have to go back
Yeah.
last year, Pink Panther, to our channel. We did a live stream review of the House of Dragons. And we demonstrated turning it off, putting an SDR. You see more detail. Turning it on, it's all I saw was white hair. Remember that? Wait, is that a guy or a
It was
girl? It was
just
just like
black.
white hair
Yeah, it
and
was just,
teeth. You couldn't see any
yeah.
detail in it was, and I had the room dark, right? I had all the lights
Yeah.
turned off, still too dark. I felt that Dolby Vision was just, and it wasn't just Dolby Vision. To be fair, HDR was also
Yeah,
too dark.
just,
The whole
they
thing
crushed
in
everything.
HDR was a
Yeah.
mess, which
Yep.
takes me to an interview I had recently with Greg Lowen. So I'm gonna put this interview up probably in a week, maybe 10 days or so. So Greg Lowen runs the VPA, Video Alliance. His team trains calibrators to calibrate post-production studios and high-end home theaters, right? So he is a calibrator and he trains other calibrators, but his specialty is calibration of Hollywood studios and post-production. And I asked him about Game of Thrones, that last season in the episode was just too dark. And he outright said, "Oh, they screwed up the grading. They graded it too dark." I go, "Really? Oh, yeah." Because he kind of
You
reverse
imagine?
engineered it. He's like, "Nope, nope, yep." They graded. Basically, someone forgot to turn something on, and they let it go.
Oh my God. You
And
imagine
so the
being like, "Hey
ultimate,
Frank, you got to come back to the office." He's like, "Nah, I'm home. Got
and
the
he said
pizza
that
ready."
blaming it on the user was just BS. They should have admitted that they graded it wrong, because when he put the TV, so he said, "I assumed it was graded too dark, so I offset my TV to have it on the correct grade, and it was perfect." That means they totally screwed up the grade, because once he redid his TV, he recalibrated his TV specifically for those scenes on the assumption that they graded it too dark by accident, and it was perfect. He goes, "Yep, that means they graded it too dark." That's how I know, because that's just unwatchable. And I'm a studio calibrator. I know how it should be. You would never. That's unacceptable on my. So he has the LG C1, right? And his C1 is what he uses as his own monitor for Dolby Vision and stuff, right? Oh, and speaking of Dolby Vision, I asked him, "Hey, come on, you have an LG C1. Dolby Vision. What are your thoughts?" He started laughing. "I can't tell the difference." So it's like,
Yeah. It's like
honestly, I
and he
don't
knows.
care. What floats your boat, but I can't tell the difference. And when the calibrator says that on his LG C1, and that's his reference TV, right? He's like, "Yeah, it didn't matter to me. Dolby Vision, what? The difference is indistinguishable as far as he's concerned as well, right? It doesn't make a
Well,
difference,
yeah.
and it is." For whatever reason, it is a little dark, and he doesn't know why. It's not his place to explain why it's dark,
No.
but what he does is make sure the TV is at least accurate to the OTF curve and so forth. But yeah, it was very enlightening, a lot of his comments from the studio side, because right now, they're grading everything brighter because of the complaints that everything is too dark. So HDR
Oh,
now,
yeah.
right, in the past,
With
it
FOMO.
was 100 nit plus specular highlights. Well, the studios are telling the color graders, "Forget 100 nits, that's too dark. Do 200 nits plus specular highlights." That way they can watch it in a bright room, because this 100 nits plus specular highlights, it's just the source is too dark.
Yeah,
And
but
and he says
look at
that's what he's
shows.
seeing. Yeah, that's very
Look at the
cool.
main
So,
shows from Netflix, Dolby Vision, on Ozark,
hmm
was it Manhunter or whatever? People were like, who don't know anything about TVs, were like, "Is my TV still on?" And they don't know how to go to adjust it. So they're sitting there and they're like, "Hey, honey, I can't see this guy. You're dim." And it's not like it just literally would look like there's nothing there. And that's we had that with Game of Thrones with that dragon fight, and you're just like, okay, I understand the director's intent, but something's missing. And the average
yes.
person complains about that. Forget about us. And I think FOMO, when you start turning HDR off, I know I've done that in some games.
hmm
Then the next scene, when you look in a skybox, you're thinking to yourself, "Damn, that might look good if I put HDR back on," and it becomes a huge distraction. So disabling it is hard because in your mind, you're now distracted, thinking it might look better in this daylight scene.
And that takes us to the second problem. If you guys are watching streaming internally on your internal apps, right? You're not using an external streamer. You cannot disable Dolby Vision. So, you're watching Netflix on your A95L or whatever TVs you have. You can't disable Dolby Vision. You have to use an external streamer. Then you go into the settings and then you turn off Dolby Vision. Like I do that on my Chromecast. I just watch HDR10. I bounce back and forth, and more
I
often than
do it
not,
here
they're
too with the Apple.
indistinguishable. Yeah. I've done it so often. You guys have seen me do it, right? I have a couple of Dolby Vision comparisons. At best, they look slightly different. At worst, one is slightly darker or too bright, the Sony. That's the at worst example. And this takes us to Notorious RKB. Thank you for the super chat. Does Dolby recognize the pushback, and will they make changes to stay relevant or keep their recurring revenue stream? So here's the thing that I don't think
What
Dolby
pushback?
Vision
There's no pushback.
thought, no, actually, Dolby Vision probably knew this. The TV makers did not expect it would be so hard to keep a TV tuned or calibrated to properly show Dolby Vision out of the box. They thought they could just slap on the Dolby Vision chip and they're done, right? So now, how does Dolby Vision fix that? They can't. Dolby Vision is just the standard, and Dolby Vision is this set of decoding, formatting, and a chip and a processor they put on a TV, and it's up to the maker to follow the guidelines to make Dolby Vision work, and that's my argument. Dolby Vision is an extra layer, and this applies to HDR10 Plus, by the way. So I don't want to sound like I'm attacking just Dolby Vision. HDR10 Plus is
Too late.
unnecessary. So it's just like,
Too late.
I know, right? If
Like
HDR10
30 an
Plus,
hour in. Look, I don't mean any harm.
I, I feel that for movie watching, and we're going to put Dolby Vision gaming and HDR10 Plus gaming to the side for now, because I think gaming is its own thing, right? You got your processor that could be doing the work. You could take that load off of the TV. That's cool. That's great. But when it's the TV doing the processing, and I know Sam Poston had a comment earlier, well, the team is there anyway. Uh, it doesn't cost them anything. Sam, it does cost them something, because you see how many people Sony's laying off? You don't think Sony wants to lay off the Dolby Vision team? I guarantee you they do. Sony wants to lay off just like everybody else. If there is a team they don't need, that Dolby Vision team could either be laid off completely, or, hey, focus your work on tuning HDR10 so it's even more accurate out of the box. Or why don't you go over there and make sure the screens aren't bent, right? I mean, the resources can be redirected into things that consumers value without necessarily dropping the price, but laying people off would definitely lower the price of these TVs, because you see them laying off people like crazy right now across all industries being affected by AI, cost cutting, whatever. So back to Dolby Vision, so Dolby Vision is seeing two pushbacks. Us, Brian and I, you guys saying, it doesn't look any better. What do? Well, they're going to keep that cash cow going for as long as they can, because there's nothing they can do, right? It's not a superior experience. What do they promise, Brian? 10,000 nits. Well, if you don't have a monitor that does 10,000 nits, that promise is out the window. 16-bit.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell does that mean? My TV can't even do 10-bit, right? Like
9.
10-bit TV is a thing. There's no such thing as a 12-bit TV. And you're saying, well, maybe there's better banding control. There is less banding because higher bit rate. Look, streaming. I don't want higher bit rate on streaming. I want better compression in streaming with a 10-bit. Putting 16-bit just puts more pressure on the compression with more data to go. It doesn't work. So the promise of 16-bit and 10,000 nit appears now to be great on paper, but the reality is we're not going to see it. So if Dolby Vision recognizes this, what they need to do now is there's nothing they can do, because it takes time and effort to properly tune Dolby Vision as a separate picture setting out of the box. That's money out of your pocket, or it's money out of the TV's resources, when they could not have a Dolby Vision chip and just run with HDR10. And when I say it applies to Samsung, I think they should discard HDR10 Plus altogether, because my very thorough comparison between HDR10 Plus and HDR10 and Dolby Vision left me thinking, what's the point? They all look the same at the end of the day. They're so close, right?
I
That I
remember when
take
I fired up.
HDR10. Yeah.
I think Alien 4K had HDR10 plus. I'm like, yes. I had a Samsung, and I was like, okay, is it on? So you're waiting for that, dun, dun, dun. And we talked about that with the 4,000 nit promise of Dolby Vision. It's the baseline; you got to have it. And you're like, dun, dun, dun. And you're like, okay, I think it looks kind of the same, maybe a little darker. So now I'm not going to crap all over it. I don't have the problems with Dolby Vision everybody else is complaining about. I'm not there with a microscope. I'm not pausing everything, other than the things we've talked about where you can't see anything. But the A95L problems with it, I don't see. I know Sony had a hard time replicating it, from what I understand. But they have found it, and they are going after it. I heard that directly from Sony, so they're on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the pushback we'll see is not from us. It'll be from the people that aren't buying for that reason. The problem is most of them have Dolby Vision now. I just know for me, I will not base my purchase on it. And the S95B changed that for me 100%. I just didn't care, because that TV was so much more colorful. It just looked deeper. It had more depth, and I just wanted it. So I was right there. I convinced myself, and that was 3 years ago. So
Right.
it doesn't matter to me.
Hey, we got 442 in chat. Smash the like button. And
What's up,
thank you for
Kitty?
showing up, right? They're here to see some fireworks, but I think the fireworks was not that much of a fireworks. It's just
Nah.
more of me wondering, could it, okay, and again, and so Sam is saying, well, that's not what he said.
What's up, Sam?
Future prioritization doesn't work like you think it does. Also, you want to take into account the fact that the average consumer wants to hook up one. So here's the thing, Sam. They take off DTS. Like, boom, it was gone, just like that, because people weren't using it. I mean, if that's the case, why take off DTS? If anything, I would think DTS decoding is even easier than Dolby Vision tuning, right? And well, LG did take off Dolby Vision off the QLED TVs this year. The 89T, the 85T, and everything less, they took it off. They only leave Dolby Vision with their higher end. So anything better than the 89T, that would be the OLEDs, and that would be the 90T and the 8K QLED has Dolby Vision. My challenge to LG is, if you guys take it off the lower ones, keep on taking it off. If it drops the price of your TVs, I tell you, take it all off. Take it off,
And
my
that was the
friends.
and that was the conversation we had with HDMI 2.1 with Sony, and then the others found, well, it's very simple arithmetic. If it costs this to add it, will we make it back with TV sales? And the answer is almost no, because a lot of you guys will say, yeah, I'd buy it. Then you're like, I don't know. And then that's where they'll
Yeah.
say, but then, like I said, HDMI 2.1 for Sony, you want them to add another SoC and then charge another $300. Everyone will be like, nope. But being able to say that it has it, because we get the same pushback from Sony for not having HDMI 2.1. They're crazy. It's premium. Why don't they have this? Well, they sit there and say, well, for these gamers, is it that big a deal? And a good amount of them is no.
Yeah.
Samsung looks at it the other way with Dolby Vision. They know that it's not for them. It's not a big deal. I think if they added it, it would just be easier for you guys to say, yeah, they have it. But I don't think they need it, and I personally don't need it.
Yeah. And I just discovered the
It's a
definition of ambush
franchise.
stream, right? When Kenny said ambush stream, I thought ambush
Oh
stream was us
snap!
us ambushing Dolby Vision, but apparently no countdown.
That's what I
Hey!
thought. Yeah, actually, there's an actual definition for that. Okay,
All right,
it's
you
our
know,
first ambush stream.
here's the thing. We live stream how long now, and we never knew what an ambush stream was. So awesome.
No
Thank you for
idea.
letting us know.
I
Hey,
think we
Brett,
should
this
put
is
it
a
in a
good
thumbnail. Put a thumbnail.
we
Ambush
should
stream tomorrow.
ambush.
Boom.
Good question, Brett. What do you recommend for Sony
Right.
TVs? Turn the Dolby Vision off. Dolby Vision. And you know that maybe it would require a Dolby to look better. So here's the problem, Brett. You cannot turn it off. If you are watching internal apps on the TV, it's always on. So if you have Netflix on the Sony, doesn't matter what Sony, and your Netflix has content that it's Dolby Vision, Sony will automatically enable Dolby Vision, period. Now, if you use an external streamer, Apple TV, Chromecast, Roku, Fire Stick, you can disable the streamer to just HDR10, no Dolby Vision, but you cannot do that if you're using an internal app. And that was one of the issues I've had with all these TVs where I want the option to disable Dolby Vision. I cannot if it's an internal app. If it's an external app, absolutely. Whether it's a player, you can go to the settings of the player, UB820, the Panasonic, turn it off, and you're done.
Cuomo, do you think
Wait.
that they're getting? Do you think they get confused with this though? Do you think that in Sony's input, enhanced input, there is a part of turning Dolby Vision on or off because of the
Mm,
gaming? So I think maybe some of you guys think that's the case. The problem is that's not going to affect your streaming. That's an HDMI LED thing, and that's you choosing, VRR and non-gaming, right? That's what that was for. That wasn't
hmm
for content. So maybe that would help you with a streaming device. I've never tried it that way. I've only used it for gaming, but maybe that's what you're seeing. But
hmm
that's not going to help you for your streaming on your
Excellent.
onboard apps.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
a
what I'm
good
talking
point.
about, right?
Yeah, yeah. In the what's
You
it
still
called? The
have it.
input where it says enhanced input or not enhanced. Yeah, I don't think that affects your streaming because that's HDMI input only, right? Within the TV, it's always
Yeah.
going to have it on. So Seek has a great comment. I'd take Dolby Vision over Bravia Cam. Here we are with the Bravia Cam. Brian,
He's so afraid of the drop. You can't.
uh, Dolby
Put your
Vision.
pants on, Seek.
Here's a
Cuomo, here's
great
the here's the
question.
double here's
Good.
the double hit. Let's go Dolby Vision. No, we need Bravia Cam, and then those features that the Samsung does, where whatever's in your pocket, it goes on the screen. for the K-pop stars. So then you walk in, no clothes on. That goes on screen, and your camera starts following you around.
That's AI, my friend. That is
Yeah,
AI
my
right
daughter
here.
loves that story. I told them about CES and K-pop. That
The
K-pop story
K-pop.
was great because it was a bunch of middle-aged guys, and the guy goes, "Don't you want to see your favorite K-pop star?" We're all like,
Oh yeah, wait,
"Uh."
We have to build a context here. Is a
I was
bunch
like,
of
"Bro,
reviewers. We're all like, we got
but yeah,
kids. We're all
we're all in
over
our 40s."
50, right? And he's like, look. And when your favorite when you walk in the room, it will generate all your favorite K-pop, and they're all girls, right? In their little skimpy outfit, and they're all these Asian girls holding, I don't know what they're holding, teas and whatever.
I
And
don't know.
my jaw just dropped. I'm like, and he goes, yes. So when you walk in the room, they greet you in the TV, and when you leave, he goes back. I'm like, isn't there something kind of cringy about
No,
this?
no, guys, I want you to picture. There was like 30 of us standing there, all middle-aged men who were like, all you picture is a SWAT team coming through the window.
No, no. The worst part was the guy who's doing the intro was older than all of us. The guy was like in his 60s, right? Guys, we got the K-pop. I'm
I
thinking,
was like,
it was so unreal to see him get excited about the K-pop. I'm like,
we
dude, they're not
almost wanted
paying
to be
you
like,
enough to sell me on
we want to
this.
be like, man, what's your name, by the way? I keep my eye on you. I have kids. That
But I'm
was
like,
awesome. We
that.
were all like this. Is this a trap?
No, I was like, text Steve was the, hey, text Steve, who's your favorite K-pop? He's like, I don't even know
He was
what the
like,
hell
what?
that is. What
No,
is
no,
this?
so guys, so we did that demo. We turned around, and the demo was literally whatever was playing on your phone. You'll walk right in, and without a hesitation, what's on your phone goes right on the screen. And then one of our guys goes, "Do I really want that too?" Like your kids are watching TV, all of a sudden, whatever you were watching in your privacy is on the
Skinamax,
screen. Yeah,
Skinamax.
115
Oh,
inch. Oh my god,
no, that wasn't me.
my K-pop.
Yep,
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. Some of this
Anyway,
stuff, man.
hashtag.
Some of this
We're learning a
stuff.
lot tonight. Some
And
funny stuff.
so,
Oh, we needed a little
are
that.
we planning to
Keep
get
us
the
sauce.
110-inch TCL or the 150
Yes.
or the 115-inch
Yes.
TCL, the 110-inch Hisense?
If
We
you're
want
watching, I
to.
have room. We have room.
So we are both making room in our studio for that. So I know last year I said to you guys, oh, I have no room. And then every TV maker has reached out and said, this year we're sending out 100-inch TVs. I'm like, oh, I guess I got to
Yeah.
make room. So now this entire room is a giant mess. I'm like revamping everything. Everything's moving around. And I literally just installed my 100-inch drop down screen for ultra short throw. The minute I did this in 2023 and it was gone. I was like, I didn't even get to review one. So I'm going to review one ultra short throw before I get rid of it because at least review that. But already, less than a year, obsolete. And so I'm stuck here with an ultra short throw screen that drops down that I'm never going to use. It's so
So
sad.
FOMO, my last video, the LED, the fall of OLED. You had a comment in like minute 50 where you're like, I have to take down all these wall mounts and make room for these massive TVs. And this guy goes, poor FOMO. Poor guy. Like, I have to move these wall mounts. They're too small. So we've talked to people that said, hey, we guys think about 100-inch. I'm like, I got the room. My 85 looks like an iPad. But I'll tell you this, Homo, whenever we do our videos now, whatever TVs I'm reviewing will be back there. So it will be messy. If there's going to be big TVs back there, they'll be right behind me. I can't wait for this year to start. I mean, especially with these
Yeah.
massive TVs.
Yep.
Cannot wait.
Now, we haven't seen these TVs yet, but I have a date, April 20. So here's the shoot. Here's the first flagship face-off. I'm going to call it the F3, as opposed to the shootout, which collects all the TVs that are available by the end of the year. Because it's so early, only the G4, the S95D, and the Q900D are available. So it's basically Samsung versus LG. And that's going to be happening on April, I'll tell you guys right now, April 19th? No, 26th, right?
Yeah.
26th,
So what you guys are gonna see is
27th,
what we
April
did
27th,
what we
28th.
did
Okay,
last year.
yeah.
You're gonna see is what
So
we did last
April,
year. We
yeah.
have we'll have the G4, the S95D. We'll also have the 900D. We'll have those compared, and what's going to be really cool is we're also going to have the S95D having that finish that, which is kind of winning me over in some ways, not in others. That thing we'll be moving these TVs around to see how it performs, and because Value Electronics has crazy bright, skylights everywhere, but the
Mm-hmm.
900D will be there in full effect, and that thing is a monster this year. So I cannot wait to see that matchup, and we know how we're going to coordinate, so don't miss that.
Oh, and speaking of the first review, April or March 25th, folks. March 25th. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to put this up right now. March 25th. Let's see if I can stick to this date. We'll see. March 25th
You're
is
not
the
available.
LG. Oh, we're available. You'll be available.
We're going back in
All right.
time. We
Right
have
here.
pre-shoot.
Right here, my friend. March 25th, LGG for review, live stream on this channel. So, Pablo, tune in. That's the first time. That's the first TV I'm getting this year. So, LG is
Oh,
going to
yep,
send me this
yep, yep.
TV, March 25th. I'm hoping to get it on Friday, unboxed. Just watch the basic settings. No, it won't be calibrated yet. I just want to see it compared out of the box to my calibrated A95L and my
Yep,
G3. How does it compare to last year's TV, right? So I have the
yep.
77-inch S95C, I have the A95L, and I have the LG G3. Is the G4
Yeah.
that much brighter? We'll put it on patterns. Is it's the new processor, that Alpha 11. Is it better than XR Clear? So these are the things we could do without calibration, right? And
Yeah.
then later in the summer, we'll have it calibrated with all the other TVs when they come at the same time. But yeah,
Yeah.
mark that date, my friends. Brian, don't go
Well,
anywhere.
and
March 25th.
you're gonna see several fights. You're gonna see that fight. We're gonna see Fomo's coverage. You're gonna see me shoot that also at the larger size if they're available at Value Electronics. That'll be before they even fight. Then you're gonna see us do the streams where they compete. The 900D will be there as well. Then you're gonna see them again, um, going with gaming, 144 hertz PC. Like we're gonna be so thorough this year, we'll leave no stone unturned when it
No
comes to
stone.
coverage of these TVs. So it's not a matter of
Yep.
packing these things up and they go back. I'm going to go back and hit it again. We're going to be comparing these TVs all year long. It's going to be a hell of a year, no doubt.
And speaking of comparing TVs all year long, now that we have some context, how good is the A95L really? Thinking about upgrading. So my impression
Best
is I
TV in
love
the
the
world,
TV. Now,
best TV for the second
it is a
5 more
good
minutes.
TV, but
Oh,
here's my
now it's
but.
good, my boy.
Here's my
I'm
but.
going back to where you're the worst.
Do you have to
I'm mad.
spend, let's say 77-inch, do you have to spend 4,500 on the A95L? If I had 4,500, I'd rather spend it on that TV behind Brian, the 83-inch A80L. And so as good as the A95L is, I'd rather have a larger TV for a similar price. So the A80L 83-inch, it's
Very
not as
cool.
bright, but it's larger. And the way I watch TV, I don't need it super bright, but I do love the immersion. They're both Sonys, right? So if you're a Sony guy, consider the 83-inch A80L for a similar price as a 77-inch A95L. Or if you want a 77-inch bang for the buck, consider the S89C at Best Buy. That's 1,800. Is the Sony almost $2,000 better? No. Now, it's a few $100s better. I'll give it that. 2,000 is a stretch. It really is. So, what are your thoughts, Epic? What are you upgrading? If you're upgrading size, go with the 83-inch A80L. If you're upgrading image quality, for value, S89C. Now, if you're a Sony guy, A95L is the way to go. I have the A95K, love it. I have the A95L, I also love it, but it's just very expensive. And it's value. And if, cost no object, hey, it's all about it.
I mean, I can give you my 2 cents if you want. Just
Yeah,
look
what are
over
you,
my
what,
shoulder.
what are your thoughts? What would you recommend?
Just look over my shoulder.
That's why. That 83-inch A80L right there, the size of an iPad.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, it's again, if to, I think if that is 77 inches is your limit, if that's as big as you can go, it's still the best TV on the market for the next 9 days, 10 days. I think the G4 is going to surpass it. I'm almost 100% sure it will. But it's just amazing. This is technology, guys. Things are never number one for very long. So it's like GPUs. Well, GPUs last a little longer. If it wins that
Mhm.
shootout and you think it's the best TV in the world, it's got a year. we'll see how it does next year. So I love FOMO though, because if we find any of our streams from 2 years ago, he was always the 65-inch guy.
I
Always. He's like,
was.
well, it's the best TV money can buy, blah, blah, blah. Now, look, do you want this reference monitor? Nah, get that thing out of here. Give me that
Oh,
1,000 inch.
reference monitors. Don't even get me
What's up,
started.
SD?
Here's a great
Good old days.
question as it's on target for our topic today. On topic. What market is Dolby Vision even for? Enthusiasts know enough that it's not that big of a deal. And then casual consumers that like the logo on the TV box but don't know enough to even care, or it's, they're going for value, so they'll still get the cheaper TV whether or not it has it. Remember, if you came here at the beginning, Dolby Vision originally was to help bad TVs tone map bright HDR. Now even bad TVs tone map it well enough. They don't need Dolby Vision. And ironically, bad TVs with Dolby Vision was too dark. So Dolby Vision on a bad TV in the
Yeah,
old
it
days,
was
2018,
crippling. It was
2019,
bad.
was still terrible. So it didn't even do its job. So you're right. Dolby Vision right now is a marketing gimmick more often than not. Now, some people swear by it, so hey, it's subjective. It's your money, buy a TV with Dolby Vision, but I'm just trying to help consumers lower the acquisition cost of their next upgrade if it's not necessary. And so I'm really proud of LG, which, if you don't know, LG is Dolby Vision's official client monitor for doing Dolby Vision grading, right? Samsung cannot be that because Samsung doesn't support Dolby Vision. And yet, despite being the official client monitor for Dolby Vision, the OLED LG series, right? LG took away Dolby Vision support from this year's QLED 89T and 85T. So I
We'll get
think this is
clarification on
a
that, and
trend.
I'll have that tomorrow. I'll have clarification on that.
Oh,
So,
yeah, great. And Julio just arrived. Hey, Julio, welcome to the club, my
Julio?
friend. Well, welcome to the club. Let me get caught up. And if
414.
I
Everyone hit
miss,
like, please. Hit like. Everyone
yes, yeah, we have over
hit
400
the
people
like
here.
button.
Click like and spread the love. Thank you, my friends.
Tristan, what's up, baby?
So have I really been converted to the dark side of size over slightly better image quality?
He definitely
Can
is. I mean,
I?
it's all he's interested in. Yeah,
Can
they're
I?
like, so they're like, we have this laser TV. It's actually perfect. He's like, yeah, it's cool. How big is it? He's the size guy now, no doubt. You're that
I
little guy
need
in a big truck.
I need to unpack this because this is actually a very complex comment. The dark side of size over slightly better image quality. And I think the key here is thank you keeping
Tristan
up with the
has
Joneses.
projectors, by the way. That's Tristan. He's got projectors, by the way, so he's talking smack. His son's
Slightly
killing it at
better.
wrestling, by the way. Shout out to his son.
The
Killing it.
key
But
the key word here is slightly. In the past, the image quality of OLED over the competition was more than just slightly, right? But
yeah,
we've come to the point, and Brian and I talk about this all the time offline when we're on the phone. TVs are good enough, and when I say good enough, I'm talking about the Q7. In my opinion, represents an amazing landmark for TCL and Hisense, right? They're both right there. U7K and Q7.
yeah,
They
most
left
definitely.
such an impression on me because I'm like, wait, $700 for a 65 inch. This is amazing. Now, it's not OLED, but then if you take that quality and you make it 98 inch, I'm like, oh, now this is hard for me not to pay attention. That image quality is definitely good enough at 98 inch where if I go to 65-inch OLED, I recognize how good OLED is, but that 98 inch, that immersion, the rest of my family will kick me out of the house. I'll be sleeping in the couch if I choose a 65-inch over a 98-inch S5 as an example, right? The
Yeah.
S5, Q7, right? Q7 even slightly better than the S5, but the S5, we've seen it in person. It looks good enough, and that's key. Good enough, and that's the slightly part. So yeah, it's. I think we're at a point where slightly better image quality doesn't trump two sizes bigger. So if you're at 77,
Yeah.
but you're going to 98, that's two sizes bigger, and I think that's pretty significant. Really do.
Well, and
If
FOMO
you
is
could
just a
fit
couple
that.
years. Well, and just a couple years ago too, we were watching a lot of upscaled 1080p on those big ugly TVs. So now almost everything we see on streaming is 4K for the most part, other than YouTube TV. So I mean, you gotta remember, our opinions have changed simply because the content is now there. 1080p at that size is atrocious. Even gaming 1080p at my 83-inch LG is no bueno. 1440p is no bueno.
Yeah.
So I understand what you guys are saying. Sometimes the image is ugly, but now that we have these brighter and better quality, higher resolution content is plentiful. And then also I watched Six Sense the other day, a 1080p Blu-ray on my 880J. It was great.
Yep.
So, but you guys were watching 720p cable boxes on 85-inch TVs a couple years ago, and it was terrible. So I think we're in a good spot where we can get bigger now.
And Dylan, you're
What's up,
causing
Dylan?
FOMO already for 2025 TVs. Dude, I haven't even received my G4, and
It's
you're
still
telling
in it. We have, but we haven't played from it.
great super chat. Thank you, Dylan. So many 2025 TVs will be 4,000 nit capable. And I'm going to pause here. So in 2024, one, two, three TVs will be 4,000 nit capable. The Sony mini LED that we think is going to be called the XR90, the the TCL 115 inch QM89, and the Hisense 110 inch UX, right? These are all on paper capable of 4,000 nits or more. In 2025, we expect the G5 to just hit 4,000 nits. Now, at CES, they hit 3,700, but that was in prototype form. Between CES and next year, yeah, I'm pretty certain they'll find a way to squeeze out the extra 300 nits. So, and because Sony has announced their 4,000 nit monitor, the chase for brightness is on, but there is a limit. That limit's 4,000. They don't have to go beyond it. Look, 4,000 nits, all right,
Reference
that's
monitors
great.
are going to max it. Yeah.
Boom, we'll hit 4,000, everyone's going to be happy. So many 2025 TVs will be 4,000 nit capable. Will that give incentive for brands to include better tune Dolby Visions TVs as TVs get brighter, or does Dolby Vision become more important?
That's a great question. Maybe it
No.
helps it 'cause it's dark, but I
So
don't think
as
it.
so as TVs get brighter, you don't need to tone map as much. Dolby Vision's importance is in tone mapping bright content down to the capability of the TV. Now that the TV is going beyond the capability of the content, Dolby Vision actually becomes less relevant. See the irony of that? Dolby Vision assumed that TVs would continue to suck, and you would need Dolby Vision to make bright HDR look good. Basically, make it look kind of like SDR to a certain degree. But now that TVs have gone beyond what the source is capable of, meaning Netflix, Prime, some of your favorite Blu-ray movies, your TV can go brighter than what the content requires. Dolby Vision becomes kind of obsolete to a certain degree because now Dolby Vision needs to convince filmmakers to hit 10,000 nits. There's no 10,000 nit monitor. So they need to get the when the source performs beyond your TV's capability, meaning what is supposed to be seen, your TV can't show it, that's when Dolby Vision promises we will maximize the impact of your low quality TV. But now that TVs are high quality, beyond the capability of the source, Dolby Vision becomes less relevant. So if Dolby Vision wants to stay relevant, it has to go into Hollywood, create a 10,000 nit monitor, or find a way to put out legitimate 10,000 nit content like Spears and Muscle, Stacey Spears. He has 10,000 nit content on his disc. This is why we use it to see how the TVs do it. But other than that benchmark disc, there are no movies that does that. So
That's
TV's
all the
becoming
deer.
brighter. Yeah, it makes it
Deer in the
worse for Dolby
snow,
Vision.
everybody.
But great comment there, Dylan. And we have another super chat from Wild Wild Dev. Thank you, my friend. I just did a comparison to the Sony A95L and A80J. I got to say it's not worth spending that much money on the TV just to get a little bit better quality. This is an excellent point. Think on returning the A95L and keeping the A80J. Brian, how many times have people asked me, I got a C10, C9, C1, I have an A80J, A9G. Should I upgrade to the A95L or the S90C? And what do we say? Is it broken? Nope. Keep it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait.
Wild. I can't see that. I don't know how you're. I have all three. I mean, or I shouldn't say. I have the A80J, and I think the A95L destroys the
But
A80L.
what do you watch? What does Wild Wild Dev
Yeah,
watch,
because I
right?
mean
If he's watching
the
Columbo,
yeah, if you're watching MASH, I can see that. But I mean, the A95L spanks the A80J and the A80L behind me. I mean, I don't want to disagree with you. You're doing the test, but I've spent a lot of time with them. I don't think it's close. I mean, it's close enough maybe for what you're watching. Play with those presets. Get out of custom or professional.
Standard.
I
Watch sports and standard. That's what the difference
Yeah, I
is.
mean, yeah,
Sports
I
and
would
standard
say
mode.
Wild Dev. Before you do that, the 80J is awesome. I love that TV. It is not bright at all. The 8095L is bright, lots of color. It's very saturated. Its entire operating system is different. It's got a different
And
processor. I
so,
mean,
in other
it's
words,
not
we're going to
weird.
continue with his super chat. So, Brian, you're saying I
Oh,
should
he's got a
take
part
back
two to
the
that.
A95L and keep my Sony A80J? They are both 65 inch. Not worth spending so much on a TV that gives slight. And okay, so this is what I'll tell you, Wald.
The
You
TV's too
are
small,
not
bro.
appreciating the difference. Take it back.
Yeah.
Because,
You're
right?
right. You're right. If you don't see it, I'm not going to convince you. I think your TV's too small. Maybe that's the case. Well, you know what? Actually, that's exactly what it is. Let me stop what I'm saying. We almost
Wait,
never
rewind.
ever we almost never ever recommend upgrading at the same size. Almost never, because you already have a TV you like, which is the A80L, which is excellent. Now you're spending a ridiculous amount of money for a TV the same size. It'll never blow your hair back at the same size. Now I guarantee you, if that TV was 77, you'd be singing a different tune. But I think you're looking at the money you spent and said, "Wait a minute, it's really not that much better because now you're watching regular content." I don't want to say put demo material on it, but you should, just to see what it's capable of. Run a
Yeah.
splitter between the two of them and see what the TV can really do. I think you'll regret it. Or here's the thing. Here's what I'll do. You should do. Bring back your A95L and get yourself a 77-inch A80L. And I think you'll be happy.
Yeah, go a little bit larger.
Just
And again,
a
it's
little
all
larger.
content specific. If the content you're watching is SDR, right, meaning
Yeah.
it doesn't get higher than 100 nits, you
You're
nailed it.
stuck.
A80J
Yeah.
is fine. If you're watching hockey, I use hockey, skiing, where the A80J cannot sustain bright white in standard mode, the
Yeah.
A95L will be brighter on average. But if you don't watch the content where the A95L is strong, yeah, you know what? You're
Yeah.
paying for features you're not
Yeah.
using, my friend. So,
Yeah. So I think I think what it is, it's the high price and same size. Now you may not have the room Wild Dev, but you spend a lot of money on a TV for the same size. Just go up in size with an 80L. I think you'll be very happy.
on a related note, because essentially Wild Wild Dev is comparing WOLED with QD-OLED. So today,
Oh yeah.
QD-OLED or WOLED, tell me why. Brian, you have a WOLED behind you. Why did you
Mhm.
choose that over QD-OLED?
Here I am accusing you of being the size guy. It's simply look. I think the A95L is head and shoulders above the A80L. I've seen them together. I've compared them. I don't think they're close, at least as an enthusiast. But the size, the 77 is just not. I can never go back down in size, so that's why I've been apprehensive about leaving 83. Because once I go 85, I'm not going down to 83. But
Mm-hmm.
primarily, it's just the colors, the saturation, the better screen uniformity. They're brighter. I think the G4 will change my mind. I think you will have more color luminance. It will be brighter next year. So I think I see myself going back to G4 next year. 144 hertz, not with a one connect box. I like WRGB OLED, but it really was a size thing for me, FOMO.
Yeah. For me, QD-OLED has two strengths that WOLED cannot match. As far as I know, maybe the G4 will also change my mind. First is uniformity. The
Yes.
G2, the G3, the G1 consistently had problems with just weird banding. You know, magenta on the sides, slight green
Yeah.
here and there,
The
vertical
Evo.
banding, right? And everyone sees it. It's just an OLED issue. Better than LCD TVs, but not as good as QD OLED, which normally is very clean, whether it's the Sony or the Samsung. Very clean, and I see that, so I appreciate that. And number two, QD OLED luminance pops more, I feel. It just has that extra color luminance, where on the WOLED, it's less saturated. It's as bright, but it's more of a white bright, more washed
Yep.
out.
Yep.
On the QD OLED,
Which
it
makes it
preserves
stand
that
out in
color.
those. Which makes it stand out in the sports FOMO. That whiteness
Yes.
hits, and you're like,
And that's
okay.
why
But then other
WOLED
than
is
that,
my
yeah.
choice TV for sports. Like
Yep.
G3, great for sports. So, but it's not.
From 98 to 77.
Most consumers will appreciate the uniformity improvement, but the WOLED is so close with MLA. that's fine too. But if it doesn't have MLA, QD-OLED knocks its pants off, which means QD-OLED is the value leader. The S89C, the S90C, for the dollar, it's better than the G3 because the G3 is a bit expensive. Now, if you're going G3 versus S95C versus A95L, I think the G3 is right there in terms of value. But the S89C against non-MLA TVs, untouchable. This is why the C3 really got lost last year. Its processing wasn't as good as the XR Clear. It didn't get as bright as the QD OLED, and so it stuck. This year, it's going to be, again, this year, C4, WOLED without MLA. Get the, well, I was gonna say get the S90D, but if it turns out the S90D also uses WOLED, we have a problem, don't we?
Well, and I think that is going to end up really helping, and this might be on purpose too, FOMO. I think that it's going to end up helping LG because then you know you're getting a WRGB OLED. You might as well just go for it versus not
Yep.
knowing what it is, which I think is going to really bother people. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see the comments all year long about FOMO. Which one do I have? Which one do I have? I'm in the back of the
Which one?
TV. There's an L instead of a K. Which one
Or
do
you're
I
gonna
have?
go in the service menu. This is the code. I mean, hopefully they don't
Void
do
your
that mix and
warranty.
match.
Void your warranty.
Right. To uncover if it's WOLED or QD OLED, you end up voiding your warranty. I love it. All right, and you guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up. Got so many people in chat. Please click like if you're enjoying the stream, my friends.
What's up?
All right, let's get caught up in these questions. Hey, Crypto Color Lights. Hello, my friend. FOMO, do you think they will have some X95L left over this Black Friday? Dude, there's none right now. I don't know. So if you want an X95L, Robert has an allocation coming on March 17, mid-March. He only has a few. I mean, they are trickling out. I suggest anyone who wants the X95L, this is the 85-inch mini LED from 2023, excellent TV, and you're going to have to you're really going to have to lock it in because at any time inventory will be gone before Black Friday, for sure. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know if Sony will continue selling it, but that's just how it is.
I don't think so. But
Yep.
they're just really they're going with their inventory. They're not losing money on them now, so they're not doing
Oh,
what they
no.
used to do.
Right. I
It
mean,
used to
Robert
be, I
can't
think,
keep them in stock. Yeah.
but it used to be where you could recommend last year's TV well into the next year, and that's really kind of going away now. TVs are going. So
Here's an excellent question. Can you explain tone mapping? The JVC projector apparently beat the Sony long throw projectors. Yes, you're correct. So tone mapping is when you have an image that is brighter than your TV or your projector, in this case, can handle. So you have to take all of that information, all that brightness information, and bring it to what the projector is capable of while preserving as much of that brightness and dark area as possible. On the Sony, and I saw the comparison with the JVC flagships against the Sony flagships when they were launched 2 years ago, the Sony either made it too dim or you lost some of that specular brightness. And on the Sony, it ended up looking more like SDR. The JVC had better tone mapping in a sense that the specular highlights were brighter than Sony's specular highlights, while the dark areas were as dark. So there was a wider dynamic range that met the capability of that projector. Sony's projector is as capable as the best JVC, but their tone mapping didn't utilize that dynamic range capability. So for many people, this is why they get Mad VR. Mad VR tone mapping beats both of them. Like, well, it better. The Mad VR external processor
okay.
tone mapping system is like $14,000. You use that and you will maximize the hardware capability of your projector, whether it's a Sony or JVC. But if you don't want to spend that much, the JVC tone mapping image processor is quite literally the best in the business, and that's why they pay the $15,000 to $25,000 for the NZ series. But yeah, hopefully, DM, that kind of explains it. Tone mapping is fitting all that brightness and darkness into the capability of your TV. So the brighter
And
your
while you're
TV
at
or
it,
projector
FOMO,
is, yeah. Go ahead.
explain dynamic tone mapping.
So dynamic means they do it scene by scene. And again, JVC does that better than anyone else. Each scene,
LG
they
too.
will analyze it, right? They analyze it and they make it perfect for that scene and the next scene and the next scene and so forth, right? Frame by frame. They do it so fast. And so it's a lot of processing. It's not cheap. It's not inexpensive. And Dolby Vision we're going to circle back to Dolby Vision with dynamic metadata. It's supposed to help the display do it better. And so Dolby Vision does help projectors with tone mapping. It makes HDR look more watchable, but ultimately the JVC projector is so good at dynamic tone mapping that Dolby Vision may or may not make a difference at the end of the day. So hopefully that helps you, DM. Okay, Cosmo is just flexing now. I really enjoy my 140-inch Samsung micro LED TV. Immersion is fantastic. As larger TVs improve, the more desirable they will become, especially when prices stabilize. I think a 140-inch TV, yeah, that will put an end to all projectors. So a lot of projector people
So
have told me that,
so Cosmo has the 140-inch unibody.
yeah, that's amazing.
You have the Cosmo, is that the unibody? Because that video I'm having that video done in a couple days to show you unibody's awesome. If that's what you have, you might
It's
have
like 100 something, 120,000, something like that. But hey, you know what? A Griffin laser projector is over 100,000, right? Whether the Christie Griffin or the Christie, one of the Christies are like between 100 and 200,000. So if you're playing in that arena, you get the 140-inch Samsung Micro LED.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know with the oh, Cosmo. That's what you have. That's Cosmo. Are you in the U.S. or are you in the U.K.?
Are you in Korea?
Well, yeah, because I know.
Are you
I
on a
know.
yacht? Are you yacht floating through
I
the
mean,
Saudi Sea?
because I put that Cosmo. I had that in my video about projectors being done as the unibody being showing you they could do it in one piece. And I saw the
Mm-hmm.
one in the UK that was the panels, and I could definitely see the seams. That unibody is amazing. I mean, it was 140 inches, gorgeous. So, oh, USA, wow, Cosmo, we got to hang out, bro, because clearly you know Samsung that went and put it in your house. You didn't go to
Would it
Best Buy and grab
surprise
that one.
you? Would it surprise you if he's in Long Island or the Hamptons somewhere?
Are you in New Jersey? Drive by him on the highway. Where are you going?
Hey,
Wow,
crypto,
good for
Best Buy
you.
does have it, but it's not available, is it? I'm under the impression it's sold out at Best Buy. The X95L, just so you know, it is generally sold out wherever I've seen it. But
Yeah, it's 4,500 right now.
yes, it's
The X,
expensive, but that's why it's not going down. They're selling it out as soon as they get it. So if it's
well,
available now, give
crypto.
it 3 weeks, it'll be sold out.
Well, I think crypto. The X93L is like 39 at 85. I think that's a
Yeah.
ridiculous price for TV at 85 inches.
Oh, look, he's going to do a video on his micro LED. We look forward to it, Cosmo. Let us know. Let
Nice.
us know
What is
when
that?
you
Is
get a
that your channel
chance.
that's in the comments?
Cosmo.
Let's see if I
Awesome,
follow him
awesome.
back.
Hey, Ricardo, I'm trying to help people stop the FOMO. Keep your TV, man.
Ah,
All right,
man. No, we
we
creating
have.
FOMO, baby. It's called Create the FOMO. We changed the name. Hashtag trademark Create the FOMO.
All right, let's see. We got a couple more questions here. Hal has a super chat, but I don't see your question. Hal,
Hell,
run
2000.
that question by me again, and then we'll catch it. Because I may. Let's see.
Open the bay door.
Hal.
Bay doors out.
Here we go. Okay,
LA
Hal.
and
And
Cosmo said he lives in LA and Utah. That
here we
explains
go.
everything.
Found it.
Well, I got him in both places. Good
All
for you,
right.
bro.
What are our thoughts on the Samsung 85-inch Q900B? So we saw that at the 8K shootout, not last year, but 2 years ago. And what we found was that I felt that its tone mapping was pretty good. It didn't clip the details, but it's not as bright as you think. Personally, I'd rather you get for a similar price an 85-inch QN95C or a QN90C. I honestly don't feel that that generation of 8K brought anything to the table. It's not better than its 4K counterparts. Now, this year, the QN900D promises to add better processing than ever before. So we'll see. But the 85-inch QN95C would be just as good in my opinion if it's available to you, or the 90C. Don't spend the extra money on the 900B. I don't think it makes a difference.
And the
So thank you for.
QN95D last year was better than the 90D. It was the first year where they were
Mm.
actually better. But the 900B, it's just really hard to recommend TVs that many years. I didn't say they're old, but it's getting up there. It's really hard to recommend.
This is a question I know you love hearing all the time. Thank you for the super chat, La Lebron. Do you guys think Dolby Vision make gaming better? Does it make gaming better? I have a TCL 65-inch, so that's a 6 series. I love that TV. And thinking what to look into
That's
as
good.
an upgrade. ignore Dolby Vision gaming. If you want a game, get a Samsung S89C 77-inch or smaller size S90C, but don't choose LG just because it has Dolby Vision gaming. Choose LG because you enjoy its gaming quality outside of
Yeah.
Dolby Vision.
There's
It's
presets. Yeah.
yeah,
I never use it.
whatever else.
I've never used it. If anything if there's anything that's interesting from what we heard from Samsung FOMO is maybe NVIDIA and HDR10 Plus gaming. And even then, I mean, I'll test that this year with the 4090. But as far as chasing Dolby Vision gaming, please do not bother. It's just
Yeah.
if there's maybe 3 or 4 games that have it, they're obscure and they probably don't look very good. So I wouldn't chase it at all for that.
And how? Actually, they do. So thank you for the super chat follow up. Does LG make an 8K TV that isn't terrible? Yes, it's called the Z3, and it's how much, Brian? The 8K OLED Z3.
What was the question?
Does
Does
LG
LG
make an
make an
8K
8K
TV
TV?
that's not
That
terrible?
is no, they're amazing. Oh, I guess you were talking about the Nano cell. Maybe that was 8K. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Z series has
the
been
Z
look at
OLED
this. Yeah, Z9, ZX, Z2. This year we'll have the
Z3.
Z3, and they're the best TVs in the world in some ways. I mean, I think they're awesome. So we'll
They're
see.
OLED, but does he
They're
have
OLEDs.
$30,000? Is it 25,000 for
If
an
you have,
88
yeah, if you
inch?
have, well, the G2 is not 8K. That TV's on sale for 19.99 right now if you got the cash. But Cosmo got you. Cosmo's got you. Um, but the Z series at 77 is still, I think, 20 grand. At 88, it is $30,000, and it
Yep,
has this massive. I love the TV. I think it's amazing. I can't wait to see it. But I mean,
it's
oh, Cosmo, I
expensive.
met you at Value Electronics. I think I know exactly who you are.
Uh-oh. Now you guys are gonna hang
No, I
out.
mean, yeah, swing back, man. If you're buying micro LEDs, man. I'll go
And
where
oh,
you
and
are.
how real quick. So the QNED 99T, that's new for this year. We don't know yet. We haven't seen it. But to be fair to LG, all 8K non-OLED TVs, to me, look the same as a 4K counterpart. The 900D though is getting a lot of attention because of its AI processing, upscaling, and motion improvements for sports. We'll test it because it's unique to the 8K TV, not on available on the 4K, and that's why people are excited about it. Not so much because it's 8K, right? So just keep that in mind. But the QNED 99T is new for this year, so we'll see. We'll see. Thank you for that super chat, Wild Dev. Arting's ratings has said that the QD OLED are more likely to have burn-in than WOLED. What is your thoughts on that claim? So this is an extrapolation based on ratings longevity test, which is very challenging. They will be the first to tell you that it's being pushed hard in a hot room. This room is a warm room. TVs are running 24/7, right? And it's not a realistic condition. But based on those
They're trying to
conditions,
burn it in. They're trying to
yeah,
do it.
the QD OLED is not doing as well as WOLED. So if you are a normal person that turns it on and then turns it off and then turns it on, that means you're not heating it constantly. It should not be an issue. But again, only LG G series, the G3, G4, G2 has that 5-year panel replacement warranty that would include burn-in. Hey, that 5-year warranty is something. No other TV brand has that on their models, so that must account for something. So if you are afraid of burn and you do want OLED, play it safe and get the G3 or G4 because the warranty alone makes it worthwhile. Or buy the QD OLED at Costco if they have an S89C or S90C equivalent, and you got Costco to cover it because no one's going to guarantee you against burn-in. And most importantly, ratings themselves will tell you that LCD TVs are failing faster than OLED TVs, so it wouldn't
Mechanically.
matter anyway. And when I say fail, I mean the screen image, dirty screen effect, all these things pop up on LCD TVs. So burn-in would probably be the least of your problems, but definitely get it from a retailer like Costco that offers 5-year or get an extended warranty, whether it's WOLED or QD OLED. That way you're always covered. That's my mantra now for this year is just get an extended warranty if it's an expensive TV. Ephraim has a
Man,
question.
crazy.
Brain, how picky are you when choosing your TV for personal
There's
use, my
dyslexic
friend?
people out there. My teachers used to call me Brain. I'm like, it's Brian. What's up, Efron? My
I
own
love
kids
it.
call me Brain. It's pronounced Brain. Go ahead. I'm sorry, up front. What was the
How
question?
picky are you when choosing your TV for personal use?
Oh, you got to go first because I love how you talk about these cheap big TVs. I've yet to see you buy one.
You'll be surprised.
So,
So that's how I started this
uh,
channel. I couldn't decide. I didn't know what to pick. I didn't know what to prioritize. I didn't know what features were important. I was debating between the Sony A9G, the Q90R, and if you could believe it, the Vizio P Quantum X. All three models were so well reviewed, I could not decide. They were all within $500 of each other back in 2019, and of course the LG too. And finally the shootout came. I saw what I liked from the Sony A9G and I picked it. And then from there, my channel was born, the whole process. And I became pickier and pickier over time. But now that the TVs have come to the point where they're all much better than they were back then, I've become a little bit less picky because they all perform adequately for the price. And it comes down to the finer details. So when it comes to the finer details, QD OLED does deliver on the pickiness. I really appreciate it. But as reviewers, we cannot help but be picky because that's how we're wired, I guess. But when I choose a TV for my friends, I'm not picky. I channel myself
whatever you
into their
want.
shoes, right? I
I'm
envision
not
what
picky.
their
Not my
standards are,
money.
and I want to help them because I'm not going to have them buy a flagship TV every single time if they don't
Yeah.
need it. They won't even notice the difference, right? So for myself, I'm picky. For wife and kids, I'm not that. My son has a Crystal Series Samsung, right? He doesn't care. He's happy it works. So, who am I channeling when I'm setting this advice? But I'm fairly, okay, I'm not as picky as others. So let's do it that. I think Classy is more picky than I am. So if you guys know Classy, he's a calibrator. Calibrators are generally very picky, right? Because they're seeing things that even I don't see because they're so sensitive to that. I'd say I'm more picky than the average person, but not as picky as calibrators are. All right, Brian, on to you. How picky are you?
Uh, Ridiculously picky. Just because I mean, I have to have the features. I have to have my use case is very important. But to your point, from a friend of mine, client, who wanted an 85-inch TV. We talked about this yesterday. Has the budget, and he was asking me these same questions, Efron. And I was trying to get him an X95. He wanted the most expensive TV. 900D is what he wanted. For me, those specular highlights of the micro contrast of an OLED are still very important to me. So I still have things I'm a stickler with. So size won't beat that for me just yet. So that's why I have the TV I have behind me. I had the options of any TVs on the market. This was the one I needed. We'll see how it is next year, but still incredibly picky. To FOMO's point, um, we're not in that position much anymore simply because we don't have time to really watch our own TVs that much. So that's why the C1 is fine for me to use it as I use it. I know anything that we buy, FOMO, you and I are never going to get enough use out of it until
Mm-hmm.
something new is out. So it'll always be hard to make that purchase. If I didn't get the studio, I wouldn't have bought a new TV this year because the new ones will
Mm-hmm.
be out. So as
Mm-hmm.
far as how picky we are, incredibly picky. That said, back to our original topic, FOMO, we're so picky that we also know what we don't need. I don't need Dolby Vision.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, and our pickiness changes over time too. Like when I started, Dolby Vision is a must. And then I started to see more and more of the Samsung TVs. I'm like, well, it doesn't make the Samsung any worse not to have it. And now I'm convinced, whatever. And now that I know that's going to cost more to support it, I'm definitely anti-Dolby Vision for the inefficiency and the cost burden on the TV makers and on the consumer. So for me, it's not so important to have anymore because the TVs do such a good job. All right, thank you for the super chat DM. Would a 200 or 300 projector screen price be unobtainable? Can you explain the aspects of screens like point four, factor, reactivity, acoustically? Okay, so I am definitely not the projector screen guy. I know enough to be dangerous, which is the screen quality has to perfectly match your use case. Whether you're in a completely dark room, what kind of content you're watching. Is it HDR? Is it HDR? Do you want perfect blacks? For example, if you have a super bright laser projector, you can get a screen that focuses on black levels and less on brightness. If your projector is really dim, then you might have a screen that focuses on brightness to get that, more reflection, right? So the answer to answer an excellent projector, unobtainable. I don't know, or screen projector. And as far as acoustically, I am not used to acoustic screens because I'm a TV guy. So everything I place in front of my screen. So for me, acoustic isn't a big deal. It's more about reflectivity. So I put in the effort to get the right screen from ultra short throw. All that effort's gone to waste because I will probably only do one ultra short throw, maybe two this year, and that's it. That's the end of my ultra short.
I'm not doing any. I'm
No.
not doing any.
I envy you, my friend. I have
I'm
the
not doing
Hisense PX2
any.
right here. I love it, but so
I'm
much
not
pain.
doing any.
So
I mean, I'll do them at the store if they're set up with the screen already and just show it. But
yeah,
it's just a hard recommendation, you know.
for me, DM, the way I set up my audio system, I don't need it to be acoustically transparent because I have everything matrixed above and below the screen and to the side so that it all centers on the screen to a certain degree. And I have a turn off processor, so I could do that, right? Um, I don't like acoustically transparent because there's always some kind of compromise to making it transparent. I know it's not supposed to be noticeable, but still, that's the picky part of me. But I don't have to worry anymore. I'm into large TVs, so not a big deal. But a lot
Yeah,
of
you're
people
good.
swear by their acoustic transparency because they need to have that perfectly centered speaker behind it. That is non-negotiable. And so it depends on how picky you are in terms of audio sound, right? Like, what are you spending? So yeah, sorry I can't give you any more than that. Hey Hal,
Well,
thank you
and
for another
at that
super
size,
chat.
that's all there is. At 200 or
Right.
300 inches, that's all you can do.
Yep. What's the best short throw projector under 25,000? I suspect it will be the Samsung 8K projector that we saw at CES. It looked phenomenal. It was super bright. That
Yeah, it
is
did look.
probably, right? It's probably going to be the most expensive short throw projector. Now, you guys watch projector shootouts, and it appears to be like either the iMovie or one of those brands from China. But the Samsung hasn't been released yet. It looked amazing at CES in a bright room. It was super bright. 8K means you can get it super large, so the resolution's there. And no, the Samsung projector doesn't support Dolby Vision. So, but the other brands do, right? Hisense and all the other guys. And I think for a projector, that may make a difference because now you really need that tone mapping because these projectors still don't get bright enough. It's not a true laser projector like a Christie or something like that. And and Hal wants to give us a super chat to apologize. Double character issues. I apologize. You're
No,
forgiven,
no,
my
that's
friend.
fine. Yep, all good. Thank you.
Dylan, Brian, it's a great question for you. If their choice of brand is between dropping Dolby Vision or Atmos support, they can drop Dolby Vision. After living with a Q990C soundbar setup, I love Atmos too much. Brian,
Oh
do you
yeah,
have a
I love that.
preference for Atmos?
I like Atmos. I mean, when it's, I mean, I'm
Working.
rocking Oro 3D mostly, but I game on PC, which Atmos is not really a consistent thing. But when it's great, it's great. But I would not drop Atmos, but I would definitely drop Dolby Vision
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
because I
same
think
here.
it's, I mean, I don't have issues with Dolby Vision other than some of the stuff being a little too dark. So I don't have the same dog or fight, dog in this fight kind of thing. But I just don't think it's something I need. So I won't chase it. That's my thing. I won't stay away. But I'm at the same thing with HDMI 2.1 too, FOMO. As long as it's
Mm-hmm.
full bandwidth, I'm good to go, even though I use all the ports. So the TV quality is that good. It's not. Oh, Cosmo's buying us lunch.
All right. Well, we'll be there in the
Cosmo,
spring.
next year, Brian FOMO lunch and dinner on me. I've been in this industry for 40 years. Let's do it, Cosmo.
Let's do it, buddy.
Cosmo, your name wasn't Cosmo when I met you, that's for sure. And if you were 40 years in this professional manner, there, you weren't the guy I thought you were, because then that would make you 2 years old. So please give me some more hints on who you were and when I met you, because you definitely snuck in.
And Crypto has a
But
great
we'll take a
question.
dinner. We eat a lot of steak, by the way. We don't play around. We're
Well, we love
expensive.
steak.
We're not cheap dates.
But
So
then
no,
that puts Brian under for 2 weeks. So it has to be really good
Scott
steak. And
Oakley
then,
tried to buy me dinner one time, and he gave me $5, but thought it was 500.
Scott.
It is pouring outside. Oh my god!
Oh, yeah, here too. Hey, FOMO, can you please ask Brian, while he has
I'm right
a
here,
while, you have an unlimited
right
budget.
here.
Why choose the A80L over the A95L?
Crypto, I'm right here, bro. Look, we're at,
Brian,
maybe,
Brian.
you think he's being dismissive? Like, you're like, oh, ask this guy. That is funny. Crypto, I thought we were boys. Man. Did Did you not see
Brian.
my video on it? Let you watch all our stuff.
Basically, because it's large, right? If the A95L came in
Right.
83, it would have been the
Yeah, it's
A95L.
yeah. I mean, the A80L is different. The A80L is also special. It's got the heatsink. It's an A90J chassis. It's basically it's a one of its kind. It's a Master Series um, WRGB OLED with XR Clear. I love the
Yeah.
TV. I never think it's not bright enough, but I do think QD OLED is better. I do like the colors on QD OLED. If it was bigger, I'd have it.
Hmm.
But this is the size I needed. So there you go.
There you go. And
Ask
oh my
Brian.
god.
I'm right here. Oh, here
and
comes Tristan
and
with the real stuff.
point four is the gain of the screen. Oh my gosh, I've that was so low. I didn't even think it was the gain. So yeah, you don't want a point four gain. That makes it that's way too dark. But point four is terrible. 200-inch screen would be very dim for any projector under 25,000. Yeah, I think I spoke
That's
to
hard.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan has this super awesome Christie that's over 100,000. It's super bright. It's all laser, and he's only dropping down to a point 0.9 gain. So your point 0.4, it's yeah, way too dark for sure.
That's
But
tough
thank
to
you for
think.
that, keeping up with the Joneses.
Well, what Tristan said right there, though, that's tough when you think about, okay, I'm finally at 200-inch screen. I found one. And then you're like, oh, by the way, your projector, not only, even if it does do it, it can't do it bright enough. That would suck. You're like,
That
damn.
would. That would. Jaime needs your advice. Guys, I need some help to improve the judder on my 77-inch S90C using filmmaker mode. I love my new TV, but the judder is bad. So the only way you can improve it is go to the anti-judder and bring it to 4 or 5. And that's it. And that should fix it. I think it's acceptable there. Now, there's a little bit of soap opera, so you have the judder versus soap. Only on the Sony can you reduce the judder without introducing too much soap. But I'm okay with the Samsung anti-judder at 4, blur at 8. That's kind of like my filmmaker mode for the S90C. So try that out and let me know if that works out for you. But your judder in filmmaker mode on the S90C needs to be at least a 3, if not a 4. So try that out and come back and I'll give you a refund.
Just bring your receipt.
Yep, bring your receipt.
Come
I'm here
back.
for you.
Talk to Crypto. He's got you. They'll take care of you.
Oh, I love it. Let's see. Hey, FOMO. Which one is better, Dolby Vision gaming or HDR10 Plus gaming, if there's any that is? I don't want to say which one is better. Let's talk about which has support right now. So HDR10 Plus gaming currently have real games that support it. I think
PC.
on the PC, HDR10 Plus is exclusive to the PC. And it's end to end, meaning it has support from the NVIDIA card. NVIDIA does the in-game processing of HDR10 Plus, and the TV side, which is obviously a Samsung TV, HDR10 Plus gaming, and last year Hisense TVs had it. And so this allows the processing to shift to the GPU, which latency stays low. Dolby Vision Gaming is not good right now because it's not yet GPU supported. I know it will be, so I'm not going to say it won't be, but it isn't currently. So the TV is doing the processing, so you cannot have low latency Dolby Vision Gaming. That's a problem. So that's why you don't ever see 4K 120 in Dolby Vision, because you can't process Dolby Vision by the TV and offer low latency 4K 120. So HDR10 Plus is ahead there, and it has support. I think was it Cyberpunk and is it COD has it as well.
Yeah, Cyberpunk was the main one.
Yeah. So I mean, it has a few of the blue chip games. More is coming, but you definitely have to try it to see if it's all it's cracked up to be. But at least there are games supporting it on the PC, and it definitely has to be supported by the GPU. And none of the consoles have the processing power to do the in-game support of Dolby Vision or HDR10 Plus. It's going to require the TV to do it, and thus the problem. It'll be PC exclusive. When Dolby Vision gaming does come to games, it'll be GPU supported on a PC gaming system, not on the console side. So something to think about. Man, these questions are like, wow, hardcore. I love it. All right, so how long have we been on? Oh my gosh, we're almost at 2 hours. I think You guys are awesome. Make sure I get. Oh, here we go. Almost missed these super chats. I'm gonna hit these real quick, my friends. Here's one. Hey DM, thank you for another super chat. Ad apocalypse. Ad apocalypse incoming with Roku, Walmart, Vizio, and Apple. The answer is yes. So once Walmart has acquired Vizio, all it needs to do is get approval by, the government, SEC, whoever, right? They approve it, no antitrust issues, and it's official. Amazon is next. So Amazon and Walmart are and I would put Google right below only because Walmart and Amazon actually are direct to consumer sellers, whereas Google's more of an ad platform. So Walmart, what it's done with Vizio now puts Amazon on notice. They're going to follow Walmart's lead and observe very closely because Fire TV is only on a Panasonic. Like, really? Panasonic? You're going to run your entire ad platform on Panasonic? So Amazon is going to have to look to acquire some USA brand. I mean, I know it has its own brand, the Fire TV brand, but it is not exactly hot right now. Huh? Fire TV hot? Look at that. So Amazon's going to have to shake things up, and Vizio is off the market now. So Roku is trying to do that, but in order to do what Walmart is doing, it has to have a marketplace, which it does not. So Roku is more like Google, right? Roku and Google are just ad placement systems. They are not able to capture the true value that Walmart is capturing because Walmart is also the retailer as well. They're getting money straight from the brands themselves and selling the direct brands. Like you're watching a Vizio TV and it knows you need diapers. Suddenly, hey, 10% off diaper. Click here, get a coupon, delivered tomorrow. That's not happening on Roku. Right, because Roku is going to have to go through Walmart to deliver those diapers. So Walmart gets a bite. Roku doesn't get any of that margin. It just gets the ad margin.
Damn diapers every time.
Every time. So we're going to see some strange things happening. And Apple also is cut out of that. Apple, Google, and Roku are similar. They're just ad platforms at best. It'll be interesting to see how they take advantage of it. If they do. I mean, they're not physical merchants like Walmart and Amazon. So I thought it was a genius move by Walmart for sure. And I love that they did it. If I'm a shareholder of Walmart, if I'm a shareholder of Walmart, I'd be cheering. Amazon will do something similar. It's just a question of who will they acquire to do it that would work for them, right? Will you be buying or reviewing a Walmart Vizio TV now, Brian? That's so final.
I went after, and I was trying to support Vizio for years, but I am not. And I'm covering a lot of other, unless Walmart wants to send me one. But I mean, I know we're covering definitely different levels this year.
That's another question I'm going to have for you. If Walmart sent you one, would you? If it was a 98-inch, you would. Can't help it. Here,
Walmart.
Here in New Zealand, I can get a Panasonic 77-inch MZ2000 for the same price on sale as a Sony, X95L. What to get for a movie watcher with occasional sports? Oh, this is such a good question. I'm going to let you finish this. I'm going to start with saying get the 85-inch X95L because I've seen it. I love it. I think it's great. You're going to like it. Okay. But you, Brian, you have a love for OLED. I know. You've seen the MZ2000 at CES. What do you think? Smaller, slightly better image quality?
I don't think the MZ2000 has MLA. If that's the new one.
Oh, it does. The new one does. 77 inch.
77 inch. It doesn't.
You don't think so? It doesn't? Oh, well, that makes it even worse then. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. People were telling me that the 65 and the 55. This is the same one. I'm not hip to the numbers of them. If it was the same one, the 77 inch doesn't have MLA. That's what they told me. The version I saw. So that would be no bueno. But still, 77 inches is not big enough for me these days. I would go with the 85 X95L. And I love Panasonic, but just feature set is just not there. I imagine you're in the UK.
Yeah. New Zealand.
New Zealand. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah. Well, here's a great comment for you, Brian. Brian FOMO, what do you say about when I get my new channel up? I premiere it with both of you. Brian's local. He might just show up. He's going to show up.
No, he's in Ohio.
Ohio? Oh, he's in Ohio.
I mean, that would be a hell of a premiere. I think you probably have to learn to do some YouTube first, Cosmo, before. Come on. Well, we'll
Right?
definitely send people to your channel. I'll tell you that. We will definitely do that for you.
And from O'Brien, you see the ratings Sharp Aquos X LED TV review. I did.
Right.
I, I I read the review, and I love that it's Roku. I wish it was a few $100s cheaper. I mean, OLED is OLED, but having Roku is something that this is a TV I would give my parents because I think the operating system is more important at this point for its
Mhm.
target audience than the actual end performance, because the end performance is good enough. But for that price, I would want it to be a little bit cheaper because my focus would be on Roku. What are your thoughts on the Roku-driven Sharp? You saw it, right, Brian? In
I
person.
did, and I'm actually going to film it Saturday. So I'm going down to Roberts to shoot it because they have that TV there. So I figured I liked the review from ratings. They said it wasn't really that bright. So I figure what I'll do is I'll do like a second review to go in tandem with their review because they have the numbers FOMO. I'll just see. I'll be able to show you guys the settings and everything. So I'm going to go see it. Robert likes it. It's there. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go shoot that Saturday just to get it done. I figure I'll bring that to you guys. So I like Sharp a lot. But I'll send it to you. I'm not a big Roku fan myself because I'm not a grandparent. I think it's just cheesy,
Right, right.
but I understand the allure of it. I don't love seeing Roku everywhere. I don't, So, but I'll definitely shoot that video Saturday. I'll have it up Monday for you guys.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Last call for questions. We're going to wrap it up soon. Thank you, Hal, for the super chat. One last question. Best streamer for movies besides Kaleidoscape? So, Kaleidoscape, I have Kaleidoscape. It's technically not a streamer. You download the movie onto a hard drive, and you have it on your hard drive, and it's the highest quality, highest bit rate copy that the movie studios make available, right? It has a higher bit rate than disc. Now, the second question is, can you see the difference? That's a whole other issue, whether or not you can see or hear the difference. But there is no other streamer that has that level of bit rate. What you do have are competitors like Plex, right? So similar to Plex, you download the movie on a hard drive, Plex organizes it or something like that. Other streamers, quote unquote, real streamers, you're not storing anything. You're taking it off the cloud like Netflix, Disney Plus. Those are technically streamers. Kaleidoscape and Plex are more like digital delivery platforms where you download or you organize, index your disk. With Kaleidoscape, you download directly from the Kaleidoscape servers onto your local terabyte, 8 terabytes, whatever you got, and you watch it from the hard drive. With Plex, you probably rip your own movies or whatnot, or share it with whoever's in your system. But the streamer, you're getting it directly from Netflix, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, whatever. And the best streamer that is like that, I'd say most people say it's Apple TV. I like Apple TV a lot. I'm an Apple fan. I'm in their ecosystem. I use either Apple, Roku, or Chromecast, and I don't like the Fire TV as much. I just don't like their UI. And I also don't like Amazon for many reasons, but Google TV and Roku are my streamers of choice for the budget conscious, and Apple TV is my choice if cost is no object. Brian, your favorite streamers?
I like the Apple TV. Just the condensed. I like the UI on it. I don't think it makes the image look any better. I use the Fire Stick when we're traveling to different events. I haven't had any experience with the NVIDIA streamer. I heard that's better to add some processing, but pretty much Apple for me would be the one I use.
Okay. Agree? Yeah. I mean, I think that's
It's
been the
ease of use,
consensus.
higher end. Yeah,
All
because the
right.
Fire TVs tend to break down after a while.
Digalus is throwing out hate here. Miscellaneous comment. I don't want to say hate. He's criticizing people here. Can we all agree that anyone in chat who has installed their TV above head height should question the life choices? I am so glad Scott is not here because he
Yeah, a
literally
guillotine.
he's got a TV over his head like this. But
Like
I
literally,
assume
there'll
we're
be a
talking about
lawsuit if that thing drops.
the fireplace TV. And so I strongly recommend the mantle mount. That way you could have your cake and eat it too. You can install it above your mantle, above your fireplace, and then pull it down below to the fireplace level. And then when you're done, you can lift it back up. You have the electronic mechanized version where it automatically goes up, or you can push and pull it up and down. I love it. But yes, I agree. If it's above head height due to design, Sadly, it's not ideal. You're going to have neck pain. You might have to sit far enough. You have to have high chairs. But you know what? If that's the only way to get a TV into your house because wife acceptance factor, I cannot judge, my friend. Whatever it takes to get that TV into the house, right, Brian? Do you have your TV above the fireplace, Brian?
No,
Nah.
no. I do have the 880J a little above chest level, but I'm also far away. So otherwise, they need to be chest level for me anyway.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for another super chat, Wild Dev. LG G3 65-inch or the Sony A95L 65-inch for gaming and watching movies. I really like what the A95L did for movies. I would say A95L, and I'm not gonna bring
Scott's here.
cost into the equation. Right? He's narrowed his choices down. A95L for me. What about you, Brian?
Scott Coakley's here. He's like, I'm here.
Oh, I didn't see Scott.
All
Oh,
I see is like
Scott.
400 people in the dark. Man, he's talking smack about me. I wish I was one of you guys. I'd love to get shouted out like that. I disagree. I would go with the G3 for gaming.
All right. And there
Or
you
gaming,
go.
I would go with the
And
G3.
for me, it's watching movies, gaming. A95L is fine. I'm not that. We talk about picky. I'm not as picky about gaming as Brian is. So there you have it.
Yeah, so I'm the
Hopefully that
opposite.
helped
I'm
you.
more picky with gaming. So I'd rather go if you're a big gamer, if you're a PC gamer, I would go with the G3. But if you're
Right.
a console gamer, then A95L is fine.
Wait.
Scott,
So
I'm here. The
he
hell?
goes. I have to throw. I'm here. he's like
Which I was
he's
like, I'm
he's
gonna
doing
get out of
he's
here and just
doing.
jump in the chat, hang out with you guys.
Scott's doing the dishes. What? Did I hear a TV overhead? They must be talking about me.
Those curtains aren't mine. I took that picture last year.
We're talking about the pink curtains, right?
Yeah, those aren't mine.
Hey, Clay, thank you for the super chat. I got the
Good
Sony
play.
X90L, one of our favorite TVs last year, 85-inch. It's just under 2000 if you can get it on sale. Overall, very happy. But what TVs handle the inconsistency of certain content and streaming best? I heard Sony does well with compression, but sometimes even new content is smearing and judder. So there's only so much you can do, my friend. And
Compression, your connection is a big part of that.
yeah, there's only so much magic Sony can do. And if you're looking at this price for 85-inch TV, your other options would be Hisense or TCL. I can tell you they're not doing it any better. Maybe the
Worse, in
Samsung
fact, yeah.
Q80C at 85-inch is similar price,
Yeah,
not doing that better
85.
either. Yeah,
Oh no, you're right. Not 85C, 80C. Yeah.
80C. Yeah, the 80C is about that price, right? Just under 2000. Um, LG has nothing that size under 2000. Their QNED from last year is a carryover. Forget image quality. It's just overall the contrast and the brightness isn't have that pop as the X90L. So I think you're going to have to deal with it. This TV is as good as it gets for value and image quality. I think XR Clear should do a good job. Sometimes the compression is source related, meaning if you ever watch was the Army of the Dead, no amount of processing is going to help unless you bring soap opera into play. So you might want to do that. If there's a lot of smearing and judder, increase your anti-judder higher. Put your Cinemotion on to high. That's what I have it on. And then your judder setting above 1, maybe to 2 or 3. That could help it. But you're going to have to play with your motion settings for sure. Let us know, Clay. And if not, ask Brian for a refund.
Now I'm doing refunds too, but I layaway.
Yeah.
I put a layaway. Remember layaway?
All right. Oh, we're going to wrap it up. Just as I was to say we're going to wrap it up, we got another super chat. Thank you, Hamza. ETA for Sony Mini LED prototype. 85-inch and 98-inch size. We got no confirmation on 98-inch size. For sure, there will be an 85. We might get 65 and 75 in the USA. ETA. Okay, my guess, I have no inside information on this. I'm guessing late summer. What is your guess, Brian?
For the yeah, late summer.
Late summer, and that's a guess. It could come earlier, which I hope it does, and it could come a lot later. But I am guessing early fall, late summer, like September or something
Yeah.
like that. All
Well, they
right.
had such good luck last year of scattering their releases, and like you've said, they're short on inventory for last year's. I think they're kind of discovering they're not adhering to rushing them out. They want to let these other TVs come out, let them get their thunder, then they're going to peter out, and then Sony's going to start dropping their deliveries. So I think later
Yep.
than sooner.
And well, you're welcome, Lisa. Fomo and Brian, thank you so much for this very fun stream. So
Lisa,
generous for your
darling, how are you?
time. And well, just a reminder, if you guys are wondering what is coming up next, March 25th, LG G4 livestream review. I should be getting that G4 from Robert Zone and LG that weekend, Monday, March 25th. We'll have Brian on to help me have a first look. It'll be a pseudo review because I want to compare it. What does it look like out of the box to my calibrated TVs to see if it looks really good? Is it close to calibration out of the box? And more importantly, is it a big improvement over last year's TV? We're going to look at things like uniformity, brightness, sports, the things that you guys care about. No gaming. I don't have time to set that up. I'm sure Brian will do a great job with that.
I got you. I got you.
Thank you, Brian. And and after that, we're going to have our first face-off between the G4 and the S95D and the Q900D
And the
end of
900D.
April.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the A95L, which is there as well.
Yes, we're going to compare it to last year's King of TVs for sure. Oh, this was awesome. 2 hours passes so fast, guys. Thank you for coming on. And if we missed your questions, please bring it back again next week. We try to have one every week unless we're traveling, which we might be traveling next week, aren't we? To a place that will not be named.
2 weeks, 2 weeks, not next week.
2 weeks, yeah. We're going to be traveling. We're going to have fun. We're always traveling this spring, right? Now, until next time, my friends, thank you. Oh, Brian, what is your next video about before we end this broadcast?
I actually have a micro LED short up right now. I'm actually gonna do a micro LED video, which I have the content. I just didn't put it up. I'm gonna be filming the Sharp on Saturday, and then I also am trying to secure, and I am almost there with having an LG interview. I won't say the name of the person, but it will be LG, and I think that'll be amazing. You guys will be able to hear about their lineup in depth from them. So then I can now be an LG shill. So I'm looking for trying to get a job there. Once one of those guys are on my channel. So I hope you guys are enjoying our content this year with no TVs. Wait till you see actual TVs. We're gonna kill it.
Yes.
Leo, what's up, handsome?
And watch. My next video is going to be Dolby Vision. You can't live without it. You got to have it.
End all be all.
Oh, is it the perfect TV?
Small TVs.
And until next time, my friends, don't forget to enable Dolby Vision and watch it. Yeah. I'll see you all.
Bye, guys. Take care.